morning, everybody. As we hit day 4 of Trump's potential disqualification in Colorado case, I am your host, Good Logic, and I hope to provide some fun commentary for you today. We're supposed to have, the stage we're at is yesterday. The petitioners rested. It was a motion for a directed verdict that was denied by the judge. And we began our case in, the defense began its case in chief, opened with Kash Patel, followed up with another member of White House staff. That member of the White House staff was Katrina Pearson. Today we're supposed to be hearing from Ms. Kremer as the opening witness. As I pull open a feed for us to check out. So if you bear with me promptly, believe that I'm going to have this for you. Where are you? That's not what I wanted to do. I did that wrong. Yeah. Gotcha. A whole bunch of folks are outside. That's weird. Look what they're showing there. It seems like a lot of Americans are.
Oh, here we go.
Outside the courtroom.
That didn't work.
Not too happy with what is happening inside.
Where's mine?
Which I think is a really good thing. I think it's a good thing for the judge to feel the pressure and recognize a lot of people are mad. You guys can hear, right?
Let's see what that does. Here. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I have to get rid of this.
If you can just confirm that you
and then
can
I
hear.
should probably maximize this, right? Oops. I minimized. Is that what I need to do? I think we're good, Your Honor.
Okay.
And before we start, Your Honor, I just want to give you, we have 3 witnesses today.
Oh,
We're
they
going
were
to start with Ms. Kremer, and we have Tom, 4 witnesses today. I'm sorry. We have 4 witnesses today.
I know better than they do.
Yeah, no, we have Ms. Kremer, and then we have Mr. Van Fleen, and then we have Mr. Bjorklund, and then Congressman Buck.
Okay.
Today, we
Ken
actually
Buck.
expect to be done fairly early in the early afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock.
Okay. And then is the Colorado Republican Party going to be calling any witnesses?
Your Honor, we haven't made an absolute final decision, but I think it likely we will not.
Okay.
And we
That's
have
enough.
our expert tomorrow morning, Mr. Delahunty, and
Okay.
he'll be on first thing tomorrow.
And will the plaintiffs have any, or the petitioners have any rebuttal case?
We're not sure yet at this point, Your Honor, but we are scheduling Mr. Heafy for 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon or thereabouts.
Okay. On that, I mean, it sounds like we're gonna have time. I think it might make sense if people want to do closings, to do closings on Friday, if the parties want to.
Now, I want to give you all a heads up
So why don't we maybe talk about that after the next break?
that I'm going to need to shut down for the Sabbath at
Okay, we can
3
Because we had
o'clock my
previously
time.
talked about doing closings.
So my coverage is going to
After the
end
fact?
like 1 o'clock tomorrow.
not at all?
today.
We talked
Friday.
about doing them
So,
10 days from now on Wednesday,
I'll
the
be
15th.
closing down.
Your Honor, if you remember, the part of the reason for doing the closings then though was to give you your 48 hours.
Yeah,
It might be.
And
It might
we're
be
not doing
earlier.
our findings
It'll
of fact
probably
and
be earlier than
conclusions of
that.
law until next Wednesday. So you'd be
I'll go
way
as long as I
outside of
can
that.
tomorrow. We'll
I
see.
think the point of that was to give you that ability.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
But at
feeling
the
good
same
about
time,
Ken
I
Buck
thought that the-
testifying either.
General consensus was that the parties could
I'm
waive
a
the
huge.
48
Let
hour
me tell you something. There's no
requirement.
places free.
So
There's
why
no
don't we
places free.
revisit that
It's amazing.
sometime later today? If that's no longer the party's
Out here in
position,
Montana.
then I think it would make sense to do the closings later. But there's a chance, I guess theoretically,
And I'm not the one doing the closing, so that'll be Mr. Gessler
okay.
engaging that conversation. So
Not trying to rush people, but just thinking if we have time reserved and if people still are of the view that we can waive the 48-hour requirement, that it might make everybody happier just to be done with me for the meantime.
No one's ever said
So
that before.
anyway, it looks like is it Kremer or
Yeah.
Kremer?
Kremer, the intervener, Donald J. Trump calls Amy Kremer.
Okay. Ms. Kremer, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay, will you raise your right hand, please? Ms. Kramer, do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you will give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Kramer. How are you how are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. So could you please start with telling us a bit about your history in politics?
Yes, I'm one of the founders of the modern day Tea Party back in 2009. I'd never been in politics before. I'm a former flight attendant. And I got engaged then, and we came together over Twitter and started the modern day Tea Party movement. Tea Party Patriots was actually founded in my kitchen, and I was with Tea Party Patriots for a while, and then I left and joined Tea Party Express, and spent, I guess I was there till 2014, 2015. And honestly, the Tea Party movement started out of, we were opposed to big government spending with the Bush administration. And then Obama got elected. We were fighting Obamacare, government takeover of healthcare. And we mobilized people across the country.
And so after the Tea Party, your work with the Tea Party, what did you do next?
Then in 2016, I started Women for Trump. I was one of the earliest supporters out there doing press and rallying the troops for President Trump as a grassroots activist. And we did that in 2016.
And then after President Trump was elected, what happened? What did you do next?
So then in 2019, I founded Women for America First, and that was to focus on policy and the legislative agenda and pushing the America First agenda.
And who?
I apologize. I'm gonna have to switch to C-SPAN. And I know it's not. This is an inferior feed. This is what I'm gonna have to do now. So, give me a moment here.
I do have a board.
And who else is a part of it?
Jennifer Halsey and then Kyla Jane Kremer.
And does Women for America First have any social media accounts?
We do.
And who runs those?
There's a number of us that run them.
Thank you.
And different people have access to those. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And did there come a time that you worked with an organization called Angel Families?
Yes, it wasn't the organization, but in 2019, when President Trump wanted to declare an emergency and use the funds for a border wall, and the government was shut down, and everybody was talking about the effect on the government workers. They're going to run out of their health care paychecks and whatnot. And there are a number of angel families. An angel family is somebody that has lost their family.
That's an interesting thought.
Who's an illegal immigrant. So we gathered the angel families and went to Washington, D.C. to give President Trump some support. And we just want the border secure. And so
All right. I'm sorry. I didn't want to go that far into this. I just wanted to finish up with where you've been in politics leading up to the election of 2020. No, it's okay. All right. So let's move to the election of 2020. And can you tell us kind of what happened and how you started getting involved after the 2020 election?
yeah, so 2020 was a crazy year, as we all know, from COVID. So nothing seemed normal. And then the night of the election, I mean, Trump was winning big. And then you go to bed the next morning, and
It's not uncommon to put a time parameter
so
on,
it was obvious something was going on.
and they tend to like to move them
in
along.
County.
It's not unusual.
There were a number of states that stopped counting, and there was something going on, and people knew it across the country. And so we started, nobody was doing anything. The campaign wasn't doing anything, the RNC wasn't doing anything. I mean, there was nobody. And so I did what I do, and that's mobilize people and bring people together. And so I came together with a group of people, a coalition, and people started going to their state capitals and showing up and standing together and demanding election integrity.
And at
Boost as much
at
as I
some
can get
point,
him.
did you decide that you needed to head to Washington,
C-SPAN is
D.C.?
bad.
Yes, well, it was obvious that
This is max
going on.
volume.
So, Washington, D.C., people could go to their state capitals. Not everybody could go to Washington, D.C., but a lot of people wanted to go to Washington, D.C. We could not get a permit the Saturday after the election. We couldn't get one that quick. And so we applied for a permit for Saturday, November 14th, so a week and a half later, and we had a rally that Saturday.
And who was the organizing force behind that rally on November 14th?
It was Women for America First.
So your organization, right?
Yes.
And what was the plan for that rally?
The plan was, it was pretty simple. Like I said, we were working with this coalition, and we wanted everybody involved and engaged. And so we were going to have a rally at Freedom Plaza, and then we were going to march to the Supreme Court and have a stage there where we had speakers there. And that would, at the end of that program, that was it.
Hold on just a second, Ms. Kremer. Your Honor, do you want us to wait until we get have her picture up, or can we just continue? My assumption she's got a bandwidth issue on her end, but I don't know.
It's weird because
Oh, she's up on everybody else?
on my WebEx, I can see her, but not on this screen, so I'm not sure why. Are you able to? Yeah, I don't know.
All of us are looking at ourselves and going, huh? We don't know. So,
I can see her on one of my screens and not the other.
okay. So why don't we continue? And if we have a problem, if you'll just let me know. Thank you. All right.
Ms. Kremer, we're just, for some reason, the screen that.
And it's important for the judge to be able to see her because that's part of her testimony is in her face. It gives credibility. The important thing is not whether you or I can see her from the attorney's
So
position.
we're gonna continue
The important thing is that the finder of fact can see her, and that the finder of fact, since this is a bench trial, is the judge. So that's why
she's still having trouble. We may have to take a break and figure out what's going on.
it was a wise thing for this attorney to do to pause and ensure that the judge can see her.
Oh, apparently there was a setting on my computer that tells you how
question by Boomer.
technologically savvy I am or not.
Is there a way where you can make it so she is the primary?
We can,
Do you know how to do that? I don't.
this is the best view we're able to get.
Oh.
Yeah, it's with the two of you locked in.
Thank you for reminding me.
You're stationary on WebEx.
Okay.
I actually had started doing that and forgot.
Yeah, so Ms. Kramer, you dropped off again for some reason, so we'll see what happens.
I can see y'all fine.
But it's that the court reporter doesn't see you is what the issue is, but we'll work through this. All right, so we just talked about the plan. You said there was a coalition of people, of groups involved in the November 14th rally, correct?
Correct.
And can you tell us who was in that coalition?
There was Brandon Straka, Ali Alexander, Tea Party Patriot, Moms for America. I'm trying to think who else. Scott Pressler was involved.
So it's fair to say then that there was a fairly large coalition of groups and people, right?
Yes, it was a large coalition. Eagle Forum was one.
And so when you went, so you started at Freedom Plaza. Who were your speakers at Freedom Plaza that day?
Oh my gosh. Well, our team and then the influencers and coalition that we had brought together. So I think it was like an hour and a half program, and you could be short on speakers, but you always have way more.
And then after Freedom Plaza, I think you said that you marched down to the Supreme Court of the United States. Is that correct?
Yes, we marched to the Supreme Court.
And you had more speakers there, correct?
Correct.
Now, can you describe the rally at Freedom Plaza?
Yeah, I mean, it was huge, and people came from everywhere, and these are patriotic, freedom-loving citizens that really just dropped everything in their lives at a moment's notice to come to Washington, D.C., because they felt like the election had been stolen. So there was a lot of love there, love of God, love of country, love of each other, and a lot of patriotism, and so it was very joyful, singing, dancing, that sort of thing.
And was there any violence that occurred during the rally at Freedom Plaza?
No.
And so y'all marched down to the Supreme Court, and can you similarly describe the crowd as they marched up to the Supreme Court?
I mean, the crowd was very happy, like I said, and people dancing and singing and whatnot. And then we got to the Supreme Court, same type of atmosphere. These are happy people. They're there because they want to be there, and they're extremely happy and they love this country. So it was the same atmosphere at the Supreme Court.
So it was the same atmosphere. It was the same atmosphere from Freedom Plaza during the march and at the Supreme Court as well, correct?
I didn't march up there with the group. I went after the group. So I can't say what, but yes, when they got there, it was the same type of atmosphere.
Great.
And I'm sorry, this is in mid-November.
This is November 14th, Your Honor. And if we could play Exhibit 1025, please. And this is a video, Your Honor. having volume issues here.
Oh my gosh.
What, the technology guy? Ms. Kremer, we're having some technological difficulties again, so just hold with us.
That's not me breathing into the mic, if you're wondering. And the objective here is to show that this was like a normal thing. This was not a crazy, this was not designed to be some sort of violent activity. But Americans just being Americans. I think this is an important thing. I think this is an important testimony in that sense. If you're wondering why are we getting this, it's because you might think of this as something that was a classic patriotic rally of people coming together, but that's likely not what the judge thinks it is. In fact, it's being portrayed as this was like pretty much an assembly that Trump was saying for months to be an insurrection. So you want to show that no one who was associated with this was thinking like along those lines, presumably including Trump. And then, yeah, even though he's saying it's wild, he's trying to get people to go to a rally. It's going to be wild. It's going to be like, a fun time. And here's Amy, Kremer, who's one of the people who's involved with organizing this event, who's confirming that this was about organizing Americans to peacefully protest.
So, Ms. Kremer, you just saw that video, correct?
It's a good thing. It's
Okay.
smart.
Can you tell us what's happening there?
Well, that video is actually from December 12th, the second rally that we had. But, I mean, it's the same type of atmosphere. There were just more people December 12th, and we didn't have to fight over. But what we were watching was Faye Cable, who was with our Women for America First singing the national anthem, and they're singing along, and all of a sudden, here comes Marine One, the president, and as you saw that, he flew over twice, and the crowd loved it. They went nuts.
And you didn't take that video, did you?
No.
But you were there when that was happening, correct?
Yes, one of my team members took it.
And that is a fair and accurate representation of what was occurring at that time, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to move mission of Exhibit 1025.
Any objection?
Question the relevance of it, but we'll let it.
1025 is admitted, but I just want to make clear, so that was on December 12th.
Yeah, and we'll reference it back to it when we get to the December 12th rally, because we'll be talking about that in a few minutes.
I'm going to tell you, I can do nothing
Now,
about the audio. I
Ms.
have it as
Kremer,
loud as possible. Other than my,
do you know a man named
audio,
Vernon
I can't do
Jones?
anything about the court audio.
I do.
And can you tell us who he is?
Yes, he is a politician here in Georgia. He was a Democrat and then he left the party and became a Republican. He ran for governor here in the state of Georgia. He was in the state legislature before that.
And did he speak at the rally at the Supreme Court on November 14th?
Yes, he did.
And was there anything specific that he said that you thought was relevant or notable?
Your Honor, objection. We tried to get in other speeches from the ellipse that day on January 6th,
You did put in.
including from Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman. The other side objected strenuously. That was far more relevant, I think, to what President Trump was doing since he was referencing those two. So we'll object to any.
It's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. Yours was.
Sustained.
No, you didn't give a chance to respond.
Well, what we're asking to have put in the record would just go to the state of mind of the crowd and what was happening in the crowd.
Right. Not for the truth of what the speakers are saying.
No, I think you can ask her what the state of the mind of the crowd was without having her repeat what
Okay.
the speech is said, which is clearly hearsay.
That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. She's saying it's clearly hearsay. It's not hearsay. It's not, because hearsay
Thank you,
is
Your
for the
Honor.
truth of the matter asserted.
So, Ms.
This is
Kremer,
not hearsay. It's because you don't care what the speaker is saying.
so did
care
anything
that
notable
they're-
happen
anything
as the
you're saying is
November
true.
14th rally was wrapping up?
Well,
That is
we went to the
ridiculous.
Supreme Court, and as the speeches were going on, Congressman Louis Gohmert was there, and he kept bringing up new members of Congress, Lauren Boebert, I think Madison Cawthorn, and a few others, Bob Good. And it was November, and so the sun was starting to go down, and the Supreme Court police kept saying, you need to wrap it up, you need to wrap it up. And he finally said, we need to wrap this up because Antifa's over there at the church, and we're not going to be able to keep y'all separated, and you need to get out of here before dark. And so we wrapped it up because we wanted people to be safe.
Your Honor, I would move to strike the testimony about what she was told by an officer that is being offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Sustained.
So, Ms. Kremer, when you did, was there a specific reason, without referencing anybody else, was there a specific reason you're trying to wrap it up before dark?
Same objection, Your Honor.
That's not
I'll
good.
see if she can answer without just saying what people told her.
We wanted, I mean, this was our rally, our name was on the permit, and we wanted to know that people were safe. We didn't want to put our supporters in a dangerous situation, and we knew there were agitators, and so we wanted everybody to get out of there, and that was simply it, was to keep our supporters safe.
And when you wrapped up, what happened? Did you go back to your hotel at that point?
Yes.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say, people dispersed and, I mean, I guess went to the train station, hotel, buses, whatever. We went back to the hotel.
And which hotel were you in?
During the Willard.
And did something happen back at the hotel that night?
Okay, so I'm just kind of a little bit confused. So we're talking about November.
We're still on November 14th.
Sorry.
Yes, fair enough, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I object to the relevance of what happened back in the hotel.
You're talking about stuff that happened 5 years earlier.
I have no idea one way or the other, but I'm not going to testify.
Thank you, Your Honor. So can you, Ms. Kremer, I'll repeat the question. Can you tell us what happened at the Willard Hotel that night?
Yes, the Willard Hotel was attacked by Antifa and Black Lives Matter. They were throwing Molotov cocktails into Cafe du Parc, the cafe restaurant that is there in the hotel. And then they shut down the hotel because then they started shooting fireworks in the building. So the Willard shut down and nobody could go in or out. And so it was that way for a number of hours, probably 3 or 4 hours.
And are you aware of any violence perpetrated by any of the members, any of the people who attended the November 14th rally?
No, I'm not.
So after the November 14th rally, it's my understanding that you all did a bus tour. Is that correct?
Yes,
And can you, what was the name of that bus tour?
March for Trump.
And where did you go?
We started out in South Florida and we ended up in Washington DC on December 12th for the next rally. We went to a number of the swing states. I can't remember the exact route.
And who organized that?
Women for America First, my team.
Not me
And
whistling through my nose.
was the coalition that was
Right.
involved in the November 14th rally, were they involved in the bus tour?
So, no, they weren't. Some of them were and supported us and came to our events and whatnot, but that core group of Ali Alexander, we stopped working with him right after that very first rally.
And why is that?
He was not, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I talked over you. I shouldn't do that. Please finish what you were saying.
We stopped working with him right after that first rally, and he was, we cut off all communication because he was out online attacking us and whatnot. So we just went and did our thing. We went and did what we know to do, and that is to mobilize people, rally people across the country. That's what Tea Party Express, that's what we did with Tea Party Express. I don't even know how many bus tours we did.
And over that time, did you hold rallies in various cities during that tour?
Yes, we did. We, as I said, we went through a number of those states and we have held rallies in those states.
And can you describe the crowds at those rallies?
I mean, it was, you know, it's the same type of atmosphere like we just saw on the Freedom Plaza rally. The people come there, they're happy, they want to be part of this, and they love their country, and they love President Trump, and they really believe that the election was stolen, so they wanted to have their voice heard.
And are you aware of any violence by any members, any people who came to your rallies as supporters during the bus tour?
There was nothing perpetrated by our supporters, but there were incidents where we were attacked.
And can you give us a few examples of those?
Yes, so,
Your Honor, I guess a standing objection to the relevance of attacks on by other organizations.
Your Honor, this is going to be relevant to kind of how, first of all, it's relevant to the crowds and what the expectation is of the people attending the rallies. So that's very relevant. And to the security, any security concerns were not about the people who are attending the rallies, but about the other people who are the counter protesters.
okay.
I'm not sure it would be relevant in any event, but
Why is it not relevant?
January 6th rally,
The point is what the objective was in assembling the crowd there. Was it to incite an insurrection? They portrayed this as an attempt to incite.
On January 6th, and I don't know, maybe that's why people bought weapons so that they could defend themselves.
Petitioners spent 3 days
I'm gonna let
claiming
the interveners put their case on.
that Trump spent months trying to assemble people for his insurrection.
And I'm gonna let
No one
them
thought
put their
that.
case on, so it's overruled.
and I will stop stating it.
Even
All
when they
right,
put it
so
together,
Ms. Kremer, continue, please.
I'm sorry, I forgot where we were.
You had talked about various attacks on the supporters who are coming to your rallies, and you were talking about what those were.
yeah,
So, we did a rally in Nashville, one of the suburbs outside of Nashville, and, we had 4 security guys with us, and they would stand, they were doing what they needed to do, and so there was a guy standing like in the back of the crowd, and one of our security guys noticed he had Molotov cocktail. So, Greg, our security detail.
It's a great point, too. It goes to why they wore body armor.
And they arrested the police.
it wasn't to be aggressive, it's to defend themselves.
He was going to throw that into the crowd. That same rally, there was somebody that
Great point, Jefferson.
ran over Greg's foot, and Greg maced him, and then he hit a car, and the police came and arrested him. We were in Nashville another time, and this was before Christmas, and we were doing a canned food drive at a shopping center parking lot, and here comes somebody with a sharpened screwdriver to stab us. And again, our security detail handled it. I mean, they tried to run us, a number of times they tried to run us off the road. So, all over the country, but we had our security detail in the car in front and back, and so, nothing ever happened from that, but those are the kind of things that happen.
Thank you. And again, did the supporters who were at the rallies engage in any violence?
Objection foundation.
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. And so let's move on to December 12th. December 12th, you all ended up in Washington, D.C. again. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And could you and that was going to be another rally. Can you describe what the plan was for that rally?
It was the same plan as November 14th that we got the permit for Freedom Plaza. We were going to march to the Supreme Court. We had to stage at the Supreme Court, do the same type of program, some of the same speakers.
Should have created an affiliate link. I hope you like it.
And were any of the former members of the November 14th coalition who you had cut ties with, did any of them speak at the December 12th rally?
No, they did not. I wanted at that point to keep ourselves away from the crazies, the agitators like Ollie Alexander and Alex Jones, and so we had cut ties. We were having nothing to do with them, and they were not. We didn't invite them to speak.
And what kind of people came to the December 12th rally?
Same type of people that were there before, exactly the same. Some of the same people were there, and then of course new people. But again, just freedom-loving Americans. People came. Single people, married people. There were sometimes 3
You should
children.
ask about the riot gear.
The grandparents, the parents, and the children. It's a family-friendly type of atmosphere, and so it was the same type of people. Joyful crowd.
And did you take any precautions with your buses on December 12th?
Yeah, so, we were concerned because we knew that Antifa was, again, they were trying to instigate, agitate, and because of what they did the night of, we didn't have a bus on November 14th, and they attacked the hotel. So my concern was that December 12th, we had 2 buses with us, and these are big buses, they're very expensive, and my concern was that the buses would be attacked or vandalized. So we actually parked the buses in Arlington, I believe, so that they would be safe and not right there in the open for attack.
Great. Thank you. And was there any violence at the rally on December 12th?
No, there was not.
And we showed a video earlier, which was Exhibit 1025, that was from that rally. And that was a good representation of the crowd during the rally on December 12th?
Yes, that was December 12th, and it was an amazing day.
And did anything happen as you were leaving the rally, as you're leaving Washington, D.C. later that week?
Yeah, so we were actually going to do, we were going to take a big car to Metro PD to say thank you for your service. And on the way there, the bus was attacked. Somebody started throwing burritos at the bus and attacking us. And so one of our security guys got out and handled it, and we were on our way.
When we get to a break, I actually thought of a theory that
So I'm going to jump forward now.
nobody raised.
Well, let me just, after December 12th, you continued the bus tour, isn't that right?
Yes, we did continue the bus tour. We took a break there and traveled to the West Coast. Some of the team did not go home because we're in the middle of Christmas. So we did a couple events, went to the West Coast, took some days off, and then started off from the West Coast.
And at that point, at what point did you decide to head to Washington, D.C. for January 6th?
Well, we had planned, like in November, as this was all happening, even before, I think, November 12th or November 14th rally, we looked at the dates and said, we need to be in D.C. on these 3 days. The day we were there, November 14th, and then we picked December 12th, a Saturday, because we wanted as many people to come on the weekend as we could. And I think it was December 14th was the day that the states were going to certify their slate of electors. And so we picked December 12th, and then January 6th was the day that the Electoral College certification would happen. So we had decided that. We knew that this movement, it was a movement, and we knew that those were the 3 dates, and so that's when it was decided.
And who was in charge of organizing the rally in January 6th when you first started planning it?
So when we first started planning it, it was the And so we're gonna do the same thing back at Freedom Plaza, march up to the Supreme Court, hold an event, at the Supreme Court, maybe with speakers, and then wrap it up.
And so, I'm sorry, but when you first started planning it, was President Trump expected to speak?
No.
And then let's step back a bit. I'm sorry. So before President Trump agreed to come speak at the rally, where was it planned to be held?
Originally, it was gonna be at Freedom Plaza, just like the other two.
And then at some point there came a time where President Trump agreed to speak. Isn't that correct?
Yes, Trump's campaign reached out and said, would you mind moving your January 6th rally to the ellipse and possibly having the president speak? Well, of course, absolutely. And it was a security thing, and I was common sense. That Freedom Plaza, there was no way the Secret Service was going to let him come there. There are open buildings and whatnot all around. But I think we moved it to the ellipse because they could control that environment and he was safer there. So we just applied for the permit for the ellipse.
And how did the organization or the planning for the speech change when after President Trump agreed to speak?
So before I committed to doing it, I went to my team and said, okay, we have an opportunity. They want to move to the ellipse, and it's possible that President Trump is going to come speak. But I want everybody to weigh in on it, because if you do something with the White House, we're probably, they're going to take control and whatnot in Secret Service. And I just need to know my team's on board. And they were like, absolutely, why would we not? And so what happened was, logistically, it was different because we had a much bigger stage. The National Park Service required flooring, and, then they need the Secret Service, I guess, the magnum, I can't even say it.
Metal detectors?
Yeah, the metal detectors. So logistically, it was different, but, and so what we did was, when Caroline Wren had come to the Jessica rally, when the Trump campaign actually came to me first and asked me to talk to Caroline about Caroline, and I said we would, and then we agreed to move it to the ellipse. We did the permits, and then all of a sudden, Caroline's trying to take over our event and put these wacko speakers up there that we had already cut out, the Ollie Alexanders and Alex Jones of the world. And so it was a power struggle, and Caroline thought it was her event. She tried to hijack our event. At the end of the day, that's what it was.
And let me just stop you and direct you a little bit more.
And if you could just try to speak a little bit slower, that would be great, since the reporter can't see you.
And Ms. Court Reporter, are we doing okay? Okay. So was Ms. Pearson's testified earlier, so we don't need much details, but could you tell us how this dispute was resolved with Caroline Wren?
Right, so when Caroline stepped into a hornet's nest, she had no idea what she was getting into with all these different people, and it was a mess of people arguing. And so Katrina was brought in to smooth everything out and try to get everybody on the same page. And so the morning actually, go ahead.
And so at some point it's your understanding that she went to the White House to resolve the speaker issue, correct?
Right, so we said, Alex and Ollie are not speaking, and she's insisting, yes, they are. And so what we did is Katrina combined, because they had one list and we had one list. And Katrina combined the list, and she went and met with the president with the list.
Thank you. And when you're talking about Katrina, you're meaning Katrina Pearson, right?
Yes, Katrina Pearson.
And what happened, we don't need to go into too much detail, but what is your understanding of what happened at the White House with regard to the list?
Sustained.
Okay. So did you go to the speech on, let's talk about the speech on the rally on January 6th. Were you there?
Yes, I was.
And could you describe what it was like?
It was cold as hell, number one, but it was the same type of atmosphere. You know, people had come from all over the country, and they were concerned because they believed the election had been stolen. And I mean, same type of thing. You know, it was very, very uplifting, patriotic, and just full of love. I mean, happy people dancing and just waiting to see their president.
And what kind of people were there? Were there, you know, individuals, families? What kind of people were at this event?
I mean, I would say all, you know, many types of people. We had elderly people there. We had blue collar workers there. We had professionals there. There were donors there. It was you know, just a wide variety of people that were there.
And were you there for President Trump's speech?
Yes.
And can you describe the reaction of the crowd while he was speaking?
Well, these people love President Trump, and so they couldn't wait to see him. And I mean, they're cheering for him. And you know, when he does these speeches, he plays off the crowd, and they're very reactive. So it was the same type of thing. It's the same type of thing that you would see at a Trump rally.
And were you seeing any anger in the crowd?
No, I mean, no, not at all.
And as you were listening to President Trump, did you get the feeling that he was telling people to storm the Capitol?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And when he talked about fighting, what was your understanding of what he meant? Was he looking for physical fighting, or was he looking for political?
It's leaving.
No, he was like metaphorically, you know, political. I mean, we say fight like hell all the time, or, you know, we never back down, continue to fight. I mean, that is not physical fighting, that's metaphorical.
And so as President Trump was making his speech, I want to kind of do this again, and making the statements about fighting, how was the crowd reacting to that?
I mean, I can't remember specifically, but I'm sure they're cheering him on, you know, agreeing with him and encouraging him, that sort of thing.
And then after President Trump finished speaking, what was the emotion of the crowd that you could see?
I mean, people were happy. They came there, you know, the president was there. They came there to see their president. Many people have never been to Washington, D.C., so it was like a highlight of their life, and people were just happy that the whole event, it was a fantastic event, and lots of love.
Okay, if we're going to play a few videos for you here, could you pull up 1023, please? So, Ms. Pearson, have you seen that video before?
Ms. Kremer.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kremer. I apologize. Have you seen that video before?
I have seen that video.
And do you know who took that video?
One of my colleagues.
And were you there? Did you see that scene with the YMCA playing?
I wasn't right there with the video where they took that video, but yes, I was there at the ellipse. That was after it was over and people were leaving.
And was that an accurate representation of the mood of the crowd as they were leaving?
Yes, absolutely. Very happy.
I've moved to admit Exhibit 1023.
1023, something like that. I think we've lost.
Oh, she's back. So we do 1022 now.
And this is what it was for most people that day. And what
So, Ms.
everyone
Kremer-
anticipated.
We had turned the volume off of one of the computers so that we didn't get the echo. That's another video of the people leaving the rally on January 6th. Isn't that correct?
I didn't see another video. It didn't come up on my screen. I'm sorry.
You're gonna do
All right.
it.
I saw it though.
But she's got to confirm it, Judge.
So we don't want to play it again?
If you could play it again, that'd be great. So she can see it.
You want to see it? All right.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, and I don't think that's to be technical, but it seems like it works not only on Joanne's computer.
This judge isn't talking to the mic.
It actually is on her computer, and it's being cast into the WebEx from her computer.
Here's what I think is happening is I think the internet connection on Mr. Blue's computer is not coming in as great. That's why Ms. Kremer can't be seen. She can be seen on mine. So a little bit of tech trickery to show mine, but then she might not be able to see the video with sharing screen and stuff. So we might have a little tech witchery. We probably could. We would not have him on camera.
I think that's okay. I think that maybe Mr. Presley, one of the attorneys was on camera, and I mean, I have this, it's not a great view, but it seems like Mr. Blue's computer's the issue. I'm just wondering if you can short circuit that.
It could be. The one thing we may have a problem with is sharing the video so the witness can see the video or the exhibit if we're just working off of mine. So I can try and I'll work that out as we're going through it, but I will try and figure that out.
So would it help at all to take?
You know what, Your Honor, let's do this. Sorry. We'll just won't enter that exhibit. We have the other video that you saw. We don't need that this video. They're basically the same. So,
And I was just thinking, moving forward.
yeah, well, I don't have any more exhibits. So this solves the problem by dropping that exhibit.
What was that exhibit number?
1022.
Yeah.
So, and Ms. Kremer, just to finish up here, it was
Again, this is designed
you
to
again
show-
describe the mood of the crowd as they left the ellipse
This was
on January
not
6th.
an
please.
insurrection assembly. This was
People
a
were
typical
happy.
rally.
I mean, it was a fantastic event.
And he was looking for the biggest rally of all time.
And they loved him, and so, it was just a happy, joyful occasion, and you could see it on people's faces.
Great. Thank you very much. I have no more questions, Your Honor. So before we start, do I take this out of here now or do I leave it here? Leave it there. Okay. Oh, leave it open because you need the video. Got it.
I don't know what's happening. That's the attorney who Kash destroyed yesterday. Apparently he still has a job. And I wish him well.
Good morning, Ms. Kremer.
Good morning.
Is it still morning for you?
Yeah.
For another hour.
At the ellipse for the speech, you were actually standing at the stage, right?
Right, I was standing off to the right of the stage.
And it was pretty cold,
Very cold.
and you wanted to get out of there, basically, once the speech was done.
Yes,
And you did get out of there once the speech was done. You went back to the hotel, the Willard.
yes, but I was one of the last ones there.
But you didn't march to the Capitol or go along with the people who were marching to the Capitol in that exhibit 1022 that we in this courtroom saw, but you did not.
No, I did not march to the Capitol.
I'd like to show you exhibit 165, starting at 143 in the video. See if you saw this.
Anyone you want, but I think right here, we're gonna walk down to the Capitol.
What? They just put in crowd response, storm the cap. Who says that? Who's saying? That is complete hearsay they threw in there.
Now, Ms. Kremer, were you able to hear what they were saying there?
I've never seen that video before, and when you're asking me what it was saying, the people that were holding the camera? Or
You
the
think
crowd?
Trump heard them?
The people holding the camera, the people in the crowd around them. Have you seen that video before?
I have not seen that.
Did you hear people?
That
say
video is
storm
from the
Capitol?
ellipse during the speech, correct?
If you say so.
Now, you were standing on the side of the stage, so you weren't out beyond where the magnetometers were you?
No, I was not.
And you didn't have good visibility into who was out there beyond the magnetometers, did you?
What is the point?
At that
I mean, I understand he's trying to say you don't know who's there. Okay. There always could be crazy people in the crowd.
American buys and Trump buys, as far as
It's a very weak point.
Yeah,
I see their faces, no.
and there were people, well, you recall the setup. There were some people inside the magnetometers and some people outside the magnetometers who didn't come in.
They keep making this big thing about magnetometers, as
And
if Trump
from
is
your vantage
monitoring.
point,
who's
you
going through
couldn't
the
tell whether
magnetometer.
those individuals outside the magnetometers
Well, that would change
were
anything.
armed.
So what?
No.
You know, I'll tell you something.
You had
When
talked
Brandenburg was
about
passed,
some
no one was
wackos.
saying, The
I think
free
you referred
speech
to them, Alex
people
Jones and
who go
Ali
through
Alexander.
magnetometers. It's insanity.
And why do you call them wackos?
I mean, they just, Ali, they're flamethrowers, bombastic flamethrowers, and I mean metaphorically, but, and agitators, they want to get everybody riled up, and so I'm not like that, I don't like that, and I just didn't want them to be part of it.
Well, you do know that even if they didn't speak that day, both of them encouraged their supporters to come to the ellipse speech on January 6th.
Okay, I mean, I assume they did, but they were also trying to undercut all of our efforts, so holding events at the same time in another location, so I mean, I don't know what they were doing.
And you have no idea whether and to what extent their supporters were standing outside the magnetometers and were armed, do you?
No.
And you have no idea whether President Trump had been in communication with Ali Alexander or Alex Jones prior to the ellipse speech, do you?
No, I don't. But I know that he chose for them not to speak on the stage that day.
Well, he had originally wanted them to, but then there was a reconciliation and the decision was made that they wouldn't speak, but
I don't think he wanted them.
Hold on just a second, Ms. Kremer. Go ahead and finish your question, and then I will do my objection.
somebody wanted them to speak that day and there was a reconciliation at some point, right? Where there was a decision made that they wouldn't speak.
So you have just to make sure that the question is not that President Trump wanted them to speak, but that somebody did. Is that correct?
Somebody, to your knowledge, did. Maybe you don't know who, correct?
Speak to what?
Caroline Wren wanted them to speak. She was working with them. It was Caroline Wren, and when Katrina merged
Free speech applies to Alex Jones also.
he said no.
You're familiar with a group called the Proud Boys,
Proud Boys are allowed to speak too.
the Oath Keepers,
I am now.
the 3%ers.
I am now.
You don't know whether and to what extent any individuals from those groups were present at the ellipse that day, do you?
Not relevant. Objection,
I have
relevance.
no idea.
And they could have been standing outside the magnetometers, armed and ready to go to the Capitol. right?
Objection, relevance.
I mean, I guess they could have.
I'd like to play Exhibit 1022.
I don't know why he's not objecting.
Which
That's
was
a terribly
the
ridiculous
exhibit
question.
that counsel during direct attempted to play. Hopefully you can see it this time. And I want you to listen around 20 seconds in what you can hear some people say.
So it's possible that in those millions of people, there are some people who may be violent, and he didn't consider that. Well, he wasn't inciting them to do anything illegal.
So you can stop the video. Did you hear the person yell 1776 and then whoop? Now, you weren't there marching to the Capitol.
Who
You were going back to
cares?
the Willard or already at the Willard at this point.
This is so stupid.
Okay, so you don't know what that person meant when they were saying 1776 whoop. And while somebody is carrying a "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
Ooh, he's carrying "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
Now you had said
This is the whole
that
boogeyman concept. Oh, there's
individuals at
scary,
these
terrible
rallies
people
were
there.
Patriotic,
You can't talk to scary,
freedom-loving
terrible people.
citizens, and I think you may have referred to them in one of your tweets as happy warriors. I'd like to show you Exhibit P94, a clip from that. P94A, please.
Happy warriors is the same thing as saying fight in a political speech. It's basically saying that you have backbone and you're going to stand up. It doesn't mean get physical, this is so stupid. Everything about this guy's questioning. I would. I would seriously be objecting on relevance. All these questions implying that he has to limit who he can talk to based on whether they walk through a magnetometer, or they're in Proud Boys or 3%ers or Oath Keepers or anything like that. Brandenburg doesn't care about any of that. Nothing. It's not relevant to the law at hand. I'm very, very frustrated that they're not objecting to this, because these are really, because it's almost tacitly admitting that that's relevant.
Because to be by the count, please one of us trying to bridge into the Capitol.
One guy in a crowd declares it a riot at that point. That
Were
makes it
the
a riot.
individuals attacking the police officers in that video patriotic, freedom-loving citizens and happy warriors?
I would say those that were doing that, no.
Okay. Let's play 94B, please.
Also, not relevant. What someone does with your speech after you make your speech does not transition that speech into being incitement. If anything, that guy would be guilty of incitement, because he's specifically telling these people here, and even he isn't guilty of incitement because
Were
he's
the
not telling them to
individuals
do
you
something.
saw there attacking the Capitol and chanting "Hang Mike Pence," patriotic, freedom-loving citizens.
People screaming
and happy
"Hang Mike
warriors?
Pence," that's incitement. That's incitement.
I would say no, they weren't. But I mean, I can't speak to who was there, what everybody was doing. I mean, so the first time I've seen that video.
You were at the Willard at that time, huh?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's play 94C, please.
And that's the difference. The people screaming "Hang Mike Pence," they're inciting. They're trying to get other people to do something illegal.
You can stop it. Ms. Kremer, the individuals you saw in that video, were those patriotic, freedom-loving citizens and happy warriors?
I can't speak to everyone in that crowd, but
Good answer. Just stop.
people that were.
Just stop talking.
The Capitol, no, they were not happy warriors.
And they were not patriotic, freedom-loving citizens either, were they?
No.
And that's true of everybody who breached the Capitol, correct?
They should not. That's a
What is the
tough
definition of
question.
breach? Because people went into the Capitol and they were invited in, the doors were open and they were invited in.
Did it look like in
Right.
that video that you
Right.
just saw, P94C, that any of those individuals had been
I don't know.
invited in?
I don't know.
No.
So all of those people you just saw in P94C, you would agree, are not patriotic, freedom-loving
I don't
citizens or
know.
happy warriors.
Objection, Your Honor, false speculation.
She was asked many questions about the mood of the crowd and who was there and grandmas and grandpas. And
Yeah, but she's having asked.
Your Honor, if I just say, just make record of that in response, please.
Now he's finally waking up.
He has made very clear that she was at the Willard when these videos were taken and not there where those videos were taken, whereas when the previous questions were about a rally and other rallies that she was actually present at.
Overall, she can answer, she's not able to answer, then she won't.
so you were back at the Willard. You were watching this on TV, not these videos in particular, but you were watching on TV what was happening at the Capitol, weren't you?
I mean, we had the TVs on and they started covering it on the news. And I mean, I wasn't sitting there glued to the TV because we didn't know what all was going on and how bad it was. And then when they started reporting on that, yes, we were watching.
And you were pretty much glued to the TV once they started reporting on it, right?
I mean, I was sitting in a room with TV, but there were people coming in and out. I mean, our entire team were there. You know, we ordered food. So I would say I was glued to the TV. No.
By the way, on that, were they Patriots question? I would have answered.
But
They likely were.
to be honest, you were aghast at what
When
you
they got
saw
triggered,
happening at the Capitol, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
It was an awful, awful attack on the seat of our democracy.
They made a mistake. They did the wrong thing. They shouldn't have gone in.
And you saw in that last set of videos that at 2:24, President Trump sent out a tweet referring to Mike Pence. Did you see that in the video?
Yes.
And you heard the individual who you've acknowledged is not a patriotic, freedom-loving citizen reading that tweet over a bullhorn to the crowd.
She doesn't know that he breached.
Well, I didn't see him.
That guy was probably a Fed.
Speaking through a bullhorn. I mean, I don't know if it was added to it. I wasn't there. I didn't see it, but somebody was saying that.
And the individual over the bullhorn, at least from what it looked like on the video, if it wasn't doctored, was reading off President Trump's tweet about Vice President Pence.
We don't know if it was doctored.
Objection, also speculation.
That's good projection.
Sustained.
And because
She
you were
hated
at
to
the Willard,
sustain
you
that.
had
Oh,
absolutely
frustration.
no idea how the crowd reacted to hearing or reading President Trump's 2:24 p.m. tweet about
Objection,
Vice
plus
President
speculation.
Pence.
No, I mean, I wasn't there, so I didn't speak to that.
You have to agree that if somebody sent a tweet like that as President of the United States at 2:24 p.m., knowing that the Capitol was under attack, that's a despicable thing to do.
No.
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
They went into President Trump's intent.
No, you raised his intent as far as who have to prove his intent.
I can't speak to what the president did.
But you would agree that it's a despicable thing to do to send out a tweet like that if you know the Capitol is under attack and Vice President Pence is in the Capitol building.
Can I see the tweet again, please?
Yes, it'll just take a minute to pull it up.
If you ask me, I actually think that
No, that's perfectly fine.
if I had to guess, and this is purely a
Pull up
guess, if I had to guess why he sent that, I think that in Trump's mind, this is my own personal opinion. I don't know his mind. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't inside his brain. But I think the likely reason he sent that out,
Yeah, 94B has a tweet on it.
the likely reason he sent this tweet out
No. So there's the
is to
tweet.
explain that this riot was Mike Pence's fault.
Okay.
And you agree that if you knew the Capitol was under attack at 2:24 p.m. as the commander-in-chief, and you also knew that Vice President Pence was in the Capitol, that this is a despicable tweet to send out.
Objection relevance, what she thinks.
Well, I don't know when the president learned about what was going on at the Capitol, number one, and I don't know if
He is
knew that
testifying.
Pence was there or not. He was stating what he believed. I mean, those were his beliefs.
Rumble's down?
Those were his beliefs. And
I don't know why
saying,
Rumble's down.
You may not like it, but that's what he put out.
What the heck?
Now, you personally, we've already said this, believe that the attack on the Capitol that day was a horrifying event, right?
Yes.
And
It doesn't look down
if you
to
could
me.
pull up P267, please.
I see myself talking on Rumble. So I'm going to urge you to refresh.
And this is a tweet, I think, from you on January 6th at 6:24 p.m.
Right?
And you say, I think today signified the end of the Republican Party. And you have a photo of the crowd basically heading into the Capitol, right?
I have a photo with a sea of people. I don't know that they were heading into the Capitol.
Well,
but it was a sea of people.
why'd you say today signified the end of the Republican Party?
Because what Mike Pence did?
Because actually that day, the RNC had done nothing through this entire time, the 2 months, 8 weeks, whatever it was. The RNC had done nothing. They had not reached out to us for support. They had, not come to speak at our rallies, absolutely nothing. Except they were fundraising off of election integrity. And then that day, which was a big day, Ron McDaniel, no one was there from the RNC. They were on Amelia Island at the Ritz-Carlton.
He wasn't expecting that answer.
So people are already mad at the Republican Party. And I said, I think today signified the end of the Republican Party.
So your view is it was a bad day for the Republican Party, not because there was an attack on the Capitol, but because the RNC wasn't there?
No, it was a bad day because people who don't care
Two different
about
things.
Republicans versus being conservative.
I think that it was a horrible attack on the Capitol, and the RNC has nothing to do with that.
Now, you, to this day, believe that anyone who thinks there
Bad
was an
day for
insurrection
rhinos.
on January 6th is
That's
an
the
idiot.
point.
There was no insurrection.
Pull up
I would
P273,
object
please.
relevance. Who cares what she thinks about people going in there? How is that relevant to whether or not Trump incited people?
And is this a tweet from you, January 1st,
I don't know,
2022?
a few people are saying what Kimmy's saying here, which is
Or it's a
Yeah, all
getter. I
Rumble
didn't
is
even
down.
know
It's
that was
not
a
my
thing,
channel.
so I apologize.
it's working for me on my computer, Rumble. I can't speak
And you say
to
there
the
was
app.
no insurrection on January 6th, and if you think there was, you're an idiot. The quote, insurrection narrative, unquote, is nothing more than psychological warfare being perpetrated on the American people by the deep state to distract from the coup that happened on November 4th, 2020. Did you write that?
I did write that.
So your view is there was no insurrection on January 6th, but there was a coup on November 4th, 2020, because President Trump was not elected president.
No, because there was lack of integrity in the election.
There was no insurrection on January 6th. There was a riot on January 6th. There was no insurrection.
You weren't there.
Why are you asking her about this?
You were not at the Capitol that day.
What? You're the one who introduced this. You're asking her opinion why she said this.
What about the coup
What a
on
ja-
November
this-
4th,
this-
2020?
this
What are you
attorney
talking about there?
joke.
I was talking about metaphorically, they stole an election, so metaphorically, they were taking out the sitting president.
Who stole the election exactly?
Oh my God. This is so objection relevance.
I don't know who stole the election. I mean, it happened.
This is
in
so
November
stupid. What does this have to do
6th.
with this trial? What she thinks about anything?
Shadowy figures.
I can't speak to that. We don't know.
Do you know how they stole the election?
Do you think they stole the election? That's about as relevant,
There
counselor.
were a number of things that happened.
Oh, you don't?
with the
Oh, okay.
election That were inconsistent, officials breaking laws, and it would be, different states have different laws, different things happen in different states, so.
He's basically saying that she's a terrible person because she believes the election is stolen, which is what this entire trial is about. He's actually exposing what a sham this entire thing is. That if you hold an opinion that we don't like, we have a right to punish you. That's what this petitioner
This is bias.
counsel is trying to say. Bias?
Absolutely.
He can continue.
He can continue, of course.
You're
you
not an expert on state laws, but
How
courts
is it
are.
relevant?
Right?
I would hope so.
Is-
Pull up finding 164, and
It's her
plaintiff's
bias
exhibit
that she
78.
thinks that there was
Okay, so
that she
78.51.
maybe if you think that it wasn't fraud, that there wasn't fraud that was involved, that's bias. This is so ridiculous.
Do you see a set of findings there?
I do.
And finding,
I can't read them.
if you could blow up finding 164, please.
Your Honor, again, this is way beyond the direct, and she was talking about, where she, basically her testimony today was talking about the people that were coming to the rallies and she was seeing. We are now getting into all sorts of other areas, and I know you said this credibility, but I'm not sure how.
Well, she testified at the beginning of her testimony that the reason that they were having all the rallies was because the election had been stolen.
So then she's already testified that. So why does he need to prove that?
Plus,
That's not trying to rebut her.
I gave you free rein to ask her about anything you wanted, and he can probe into that, both for bias and to.
She already testified to that, so he's not trying to contradict her. What's the point to him cross-examining further on this?
Your Honor, so I'm going to march over to this table.
The reason he's doing it is to testify. Is to basically try and paint her as if like she's, as if this is something that is, just even saying that this is that's an attack on her credibility. Is
President Trump filed 62 separate lawsuits between November 4th, 2020 and January 6th, 2021, calling into question or seeking to overturn the election results. Out of 62 cases, only one case resulted in a victory for President Trump or his allies, which affected relatively few votes, did not vindicate any underlying claims of fraud, and would not.
Now this trial has morphed into was the election actually stolen? Which I'm not sure how that's relevant either.
One or more judges specifically explained, as part of their dismissal orders, that they had evaluated the plaintiff's allegations or supposed proof of widespread election fraud or other irregularities and found the claims to be entirely unconvincing.
What is the point?
You have no basis for disputing that finding, do you, ma'am?
Of course, there's plenty of basis.
I'm not a lawyer, I don't put one on TV, but I will say that a number of cases were thrown out on technicalities and they never got to the evidence part of the hearing, or they weren't heard. Here in Georgia, there was a lawsuit filed, and when it was finally put on the calendar, it was too late, so it was irrelevant.
How many of the 62 cases referred to in finding 164 were thrown out on technicalities?
I don't know.
And you do understand
50?
that all of these 62
Like 57?
cases had been decided prior to January 6th.
Most of them, I think, yeah.
If
It's
you
probably
say
true.
so. But again, the Georgia case, it wasn't even heard. So
There were Georgia cases that were heard, though, weren't there?
you think?
There were cases in Georgia that were heard, weren't there?
I'm not sure, but I know the main case was not heard.
Pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 271, please. And you see this is a tweet that you sent out just last week.
Yes.
In fact, I think it would have been Saturday, so less than a week ago, right?
Yeah, it was right after Pence dropped out of the presidential race.
And you say, question on Pence. Do you think he was in on the coup to remove President Trump? You wrote that, right?
I did write that.
You can't possibly believe that's true.
Why?
I don't think Pence
Why
was
not?
ever on Team Trump. You can go back to 2018, and I
This
was
is-
in the media raising hell because Vice President, all this Russia collusion story was going on, and he wasn't defending the president. He was part of the campaign, and he wasn't defending it. And I was on CNN saying, "Where the hell is Vice President?" So I don't know what Pence was doing. I have no idea. But on January 6th, we didn't want to overturn an election or overthrow the government. All we wanted was for the evidence to be laid out and heard when they could test it. And what we were asking for for 10 days so that the states could get their stuff together. And then, you know, have the certification.
I concur.
Just a delay. And you chose not to do that.
Her opinion as to whether or not Pence did
Well,
something wrong is very
Do you
important.
know
as to
whether he
or
in
not
fact had
inside-
constitutional authority to do such a thing?
Of course he did.
I believe he did.
If you could, please pull up
That's why I think
plaintiff's 252.
Of course he did. That's why they had to change the law. Why would they change the law if the Democrats thought that
I
it was
apologize if you
constitutional
were
for
not.
Pence to do that? Otherwise, they wouldn't change the law.
This is plaintiff's 252. This is a tweet from you.
More super
retweeting
chats.
Something from President Trump on January 5th, 2021.
Much of it has been absurd, yes.
And the Donald J. Trump tweet says, the vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors. And then you retweet, just do the right thing at VP.
right.
Your basis for believing that President or Vice President Pence had the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors was because Donald Trump told you that.
This is the exhibit.
She can answer. Overruled.
We just wanted Pence, what we were asking for is to delay it for 10 days to give the states the time to get the stuff together and then at the certification.
You're completely
let all the
correct.
evidence out there.
I don't know who's
the
much
evidence
stronger.
was there and it couldn't, you know, be certified, then you proceed from there.
No, I understand that's what you're saying, ma'am. I'm asking about why you had
Right.
the belief that that was within Vice President Pence's authority to do that.
The Democrats seem to think
And
so.
I'm
That's why
pointing
they
you to
passed
this
the law
tweet, plaintiff's 252.
saying vice presidents cannot
You
do
have
that.
Donald J. Trump on January 5th, 2021, saying the vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors. And then you retweet that, correct?
I did retweet that, yes.
And you're not a lawyer. The reason you believe that Vice President Pence had the ability to reject fraudulently chosen electors was because President Trump told you that.
No.
No, President Trump didn't tell me that, and I don't have the U.S. Constitution in front of me, but I believe that he had the authority to.
Maybe even Trump did tell her that. That doesn't make an incitement. It's not relevant.
You did your own constitutional analysis?
I didn't do my own constitutional analysis, but I read and discussed a number of things with people, and that is why in the dark of night with a big omnibus bill, they changed the law so that this wouldn't happen again.
They changed the law to make clear that the vice president did not have the ability to do what you're suggesting.
Why? That's what it is. This clarification law. Why would you have to make clear? Obviously,
let's
it wasn't
move on.
clear. So how did you know that was right? They didn't
when
think it was clear. You
you
just
heard-
admitted it, counselor.
The next day or after that, that attackers at the Capitol were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Did you regret having sent the tweet that is plaintiff's 252?
Objection, relevance.
No.
Now, you said that, I think in your interview before the January 6th committee, that you didn't like, personally at least, to use language like freedom or death, that type of kind of
Interesting.
inflammatory language that you
I gotta check
attributed
that
to
out,
people
Rob.
like Ali Alexander.
Did I say that?
Do you remember testifying about that?
Can you show me where I testified about that?
Could you go to page P241, exhibit plaintiff's 241, page 27?
They're all elitist. They're all elitist. How dare you try to read the Constitution? Who do you think you are? You haven't been sanctioned by us. We haven't told you that you could read the Constitution for yourselves. So what if we think that it needs clarification?
So this
It was
is a bit
it
of
was
a
crystal
long-
clear on January
We go
6th.
Starting at line 12.
Unbelievable.
And we don't have to read it out loud. I'll let you read that and just let me know when you're done with that line 12 to 25.
Okay, hold on, it's running off my.
Oh, get all up in your feels. Oh, get all up in your feels. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I hope I didn't hurt you.
Okay, where do you want me to read to?
From lines 12 to 25.
Now, this is a
Yes,
bench
okay.
trial,
I've read them.
which is why the
Okay,
only
let's go
thing
to
that
the next
matters
page.
really is the record.
And go blow up the top. And if you could, well, so on the next page, you were asked, okay, all right, so the type of language he would use, I think he said victory or death, that. You say, yes, that language. And you're talking about Ali Alexander here?
Yes,
And the question then is, yeah, using language like that gave you a concern about, as you said, inciting. And I guess it wasn't the way you spoke about things, I guess. Is that right? Your answer? Yeah, I'm not like that. And I mean, I guess I would probably be, I'm passionate. I'm very passionate. And I mean, I can get people fired up, but I'm not going to go out there and say victory or death. I mean, that's just, to me, that's ridiculous. And you don't know if somebody's going to take it seriously, right? Literally. So I'm not a fan of that. Did you give that answer in your interview?
I did.
And you were concerned that from the page before that rhetoric like that could incite people to violence?
I don't think that is helpful, yes,
You actually said inciting on the page before.
right?
So rhetoric like that can incite people to violence?
If that's what I said.
Now, you'd be especially worried if somebody as powerful and as popular as the president of the United States used rhetoric like that, wouldn't you?
Why? Who said use which rhetoric?
I mean, a number of people use rhetoric like that. I personally do not.
But given your concerns that such rhetoric could
Why
be
is
used
this
as inciting
relevant?
violence, you'd be
How-
quite concerned that somebody who had the biggest bullhorn
What she thinks.
probably in the history of the world
Who cares?
saying things like that.
Oh my God. No, he has the same freedom of speech. It's either legal or it's not.
He wouldn't do that. That's not how he is.
It's either legal or it's
Let's
not.
go to plaintiff's 148, page 49, tweet
I
at the
don't know that
bottom.
victory or death is in that context is legal. It may, likely is, but that's more debatable.
And you see there on December 26, 2020.
It certainly depends on
Democratic
context.
Presidential candidate had an election rigged and stolen with proof of such acts as a level never seen before. The Democrat senators would consider it an act of war and a fight to the death. You see that?
I do.
That's the
Okay.
type of rhetoric that would concern you could incite violence.
No.
I
Absolutely.
mean, he was using that metaphorically there.
So
fight to
obviously
the death,
not.
just like we're gonna fight for freedom.
And you can't
Fight
incite
for
on
peace,
December
fight
26th something that
violence.
happens 10 days
Well, he
later.
didn't say freedom, he said death.
Right, and I'm saying, he was saying metaphorically. But look, there have been many things that the President of the United States
Will do.
has said that I didn't agree with. So I'm not gonna agree with everything he says, but I do not think he would ever incite violence, or get his people to do that. That's just not him. That's not the way he is.
Well, you're not inside his mind, ma'am, are you?
Nor are you.
I'm not inside of his mind, but I know him.
And you've not been a part of every conversation that he's been a part of?
Nor have you.
No.
Now, put aside President Trump, you do know that in the lead up to January 6th, some organizers of the January 6th rally were using language like victory or death, the very language you said you wouldn't use.
How is any of this
Yeah, let's-
relevant? Oh my
Let's look at-
God.
Let's
Should be
look at
objecting
plaintiff's
to question
254,
after
please.
question. I don't know where Jeff Blue is.
And you see that that is a tweet from Women for America First from January 2nd, 2021. And it's retweeting news about Senator Cruz circulating a letter calling for the rejection of electoral college results until a 10-day emergency audit can be conducted to examine unprecedented allegations of voter fraud. Do you see that?
Yes.
Read what your organization said as it retweeted.
It says victory or death, William Barrett Travis at Ted Cruz.
No further questions.
Can you read it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, there he is.
Could we go back to Exhibit 148, page 49, please?
It's weird because the Supreme Court said you can't. They said specifically at the Brandenburg that it has to be imminent in time. Imminent. 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 Man, it sucks when the law is annoying.
I'm not sure who's pulling it up for us, but somebody is.
I'll tell you this much. I'm positive he's going to be on the ballot in 2024.
Could you blow up the bottom one, please, so we could read it better? Ms. Kremer, isn't President Trump in this tweet talking about how Democratic senators would react?
Yes.
And he's not telling his supporters to react this way? Now, you had strong views on the 2020 election about whether it was stolen, don't you?
I do.
And you were the organizer of a bunch of rallies leading up to January 6th and on January 6th, weren't you?
Their motto is incitement.
And you did everything in your power to keep all those things peaceful, didn't you? How did you make sure, how did you want your rallies to go forth? What was your plan for them?
All of my rallies, I mean, I've never had any violence from Tea Party days up through this point. I mean, we are peaceful, happy warriors, and that's just not who we are.
Thank you.
So I want to stay that way.
Thank you, ma'am. No more questions.
And one housekeeping matter, we'd like to move to admit Trump's.
See, Jonathan, what you're not recognizing here is that Virginia has been inciting for 230 years.
We won't object.
It's been a steady incitement for 230 years, building up to January 6th.
Ms. Kremer, thank you so much for your testimony today. You were released.
So,
I don't think she
Your
did
Honor,
so
our next
badly. I think the lawyer-
witness is Tom Van Fleen. He will be remote as well.
You have to put your witness in a position to succeed. And I don't think Jeff Blue did.
Actually, there, we'll take our morning break a little bit early and reconvene at 9:55.
Great. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
So one of the things that I haven't seen briefed anywhere or heard even Trump's attorneys made, it's an argument that I just thought of now while we're taking a break. C-SPAN's probably going to crap out on us. That's what they tend to do. They tend to disappear, but they're taking a 10-minute break now. So let me cover a few Rumble rants and chats, and then I'll tell you the theory that I have. Which I think is pretty strong. Tatone says, Joe, thanks for your coverage. Ken Buck announced yesterday he's not running for re-election, so expect him to screw voters as a lame duck like Cheney and Kinzinger did. He hates his voters. Yeah, Ken Buck is a poor choice in my mind, but Real Patriots Party. Please pin your Rumble link to the top of your YouTube and Facebook chats. People trying to find the pickles. Not there, not there, not there. Oh, find the pickles. That's a reference to what my whole thing as far as how I can never find the pickles. In case you're wondering what that's a reference to. That when I look in the refrigerator, my eyes go boom, 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 and skip like the middle parts, as opposed to women who just have better peripheral vision. White Sparrow says, my dog Nana, this is a conversation I actually had with White Sparrow in Rumble. My dog Nana is still happy and playful, needs surgery for bone cancer ASAP, on a fixed income, need donations to the Eskridge Vet Clinic. Eskridge is ESKRIDGE Vet Clinic in Cannon City, Colorado. Quick, 100 people sending $10 saves her. Please help. And then she said, no link. Have to call the vet's office. I can't do a crowdfunding thing because I'm on Medicaid / food stamps. Stinks, but I'm disabled and they count crowdfunding as income. So, and I'd lose the help. So she can't crowdfund. And that's why she's urging people to call up the Eskridge Vet Clinic in Cannon City. And I said, I'm not sure how anybody would specify donations are for your dog, White Sparrow. Like how, even if someone wanted to try and help, like I didn't understand that. And she responded by saying she's the only Nana at that vet with bone cancer. So if you're interested in helping White Sparrow overcome her cancer, so White Sparrow says that she's on fixed income and that she is she's disabled. So that you would contact, you send donations to the Eskridge Vet Clinic in Cannon City, Colorado. Okay, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. I want the few other things with respect to some of the chats that came in here. Just me, I just want to compliment you that you were able to own up. Most people, when they make a mistake, they just sort of pretend it never happened. So yeah, I just want to compliment you on that. That's pretty cool. I'm also going to urge you to please like and subscribe because YouTube is almost certainly sloughing off some of my subs. So, and that these trials are basically the only chance I have to really see any kind of growth. So if you can subscribe up now, I would be much obliged. Whether that applies to Rumble, that applies to YouTube, applies to goodlogic.locals.com. So there you go. That is, I took care of that now. Thank you, Joe, for your coverage on this matter. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, now, and that's Good Logic right there. Goodlogic.locals.com. That's where I have an ongoing chat going on, all sorts of good stuff. And the theory that I wanted to express to you is, I want to pull up here the 14th Amendment. So let me pull that up for you. And this is something that I think Trump's lawyers should raise. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president. So they raise this issue as far as when it says no person. They seem to specify senator or representative in Congress. This is all came up in yesterday's testimony as to like who they meant and why it doesn't say president, while it says elector of president and vice president. It seems like they specifically carved out president. I'm sure we're going to hear testimony about that, if not today, then tomorrow. I think it's very likely we're going to hear that because we heard refuting testimony trying to explain that away yesterday from Petitioners Counsel, who just kept trying to say, no, he's in office or hold any office, that he's included in hold any office. It sounds kind of like a joke that you would specify these who hold an office. But you wouldn't specify the president who holds an office. It's kind of a weird way of reading anything. So Now, the thing is this: when it says, "It's no person shall be a senator if after having taken an oath that they have to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort." And here's the question I'm going to ask you, and that is, what standard of proof is necessary in order to establish that someone has engaged in insurrection or rebellion? In other words, this entire trial is a bench trial, not a jury trial. And it's a bench trial, which in part they're trying to establish, did Trump incite? Is incitement engaging in insurrection? Because engaging would lead one to assume, or out of the bank, that off the bat, that means physically engaging. They had petitioners put forward, some historian professor who alleges that the 14th Amendment here engagement includes incitement, so that's how they tried overcoming that hurdle. But even if it did, what is the standard of proof with respect to establishing that they engaged in insurrection in order for this entire amendment to apply? Is the standard of proof just a preponderance of the evidence? One would think that when you talk about engaging in insurrection, that the issue here is that they've committed a crime. In what context do we say that someone has committed a crime based on a preponderance of evidence? That never happens in any sort of context in American laws that I'm aware of. So if we're going to say he's banned if he's engaged in insurrection, is it not implicit in this amendment, in this section 3 of the 14th Amendment, that there is at the very least that yardstick of having been proven beyond a reasonable doubt? And this entire context where the judge is looking at this is a preponderance of evidence. On what basis would anyone say that you can strip someone of their right to run for president or hold office of any kind and deprive them of that right if they have not been established to a criminal standard rather than a preponderance of evidence standard? And a criminal standard requires it to be beyond a reasonable doubt and, according to the Bill of Rights, by a jury of peers. So, in what sense it's a violation, arguably, of due process to strip him of his rights based on this section prior to Trump being convicted beyond a reasonable doubt of engaging in insurrection? And whether that incorporates incitement, doesn't incorporate incitement, that would be something to establish by a criminal yardstick, criminal liability yardstick, not by a civil yardstick. This proceeding is in its entirety a civil proceeding. There's no district attorney. There's no prosecutor here. There's a bunch of plaintiffs who are basically suing as if, hey, we're coming after you and we're trying to win based on a preponderance of evidence. Well, you can't, this amendment implies, because we never hear the term insurrection in a civil sense. When has anyone heard the term insurrection in a civil sense? Be sued for insurrection? I don't know. Maybe there is such a thing as being sued civilly for insurrection. Perhaps there is. It'd be interesting to see if there is such a thing. I haven't researched that. I only thought of this during this morning's stream. So I haven't researched that, and I don't want to say dispositively that there's no such thing as insurrection on a civil level. But if absent there being such a thing as insurrection on a civil level, the only way to interpret this statute is that it's talking about criminal insurrection, and criminal insurrection, one would imagine, has to be proven by a criminal yardstick, and not having some individual judge, rather than a jury of peers, in deciding this factor based on a yardstick of preponderance of evidence, meaning more than 50-50, rather than beyond a reasonable doubt. Those are two flaws in the judge's ability to come to a conclusion as to this. Is because this crossed my mind because I was thinking about this as I'm watching and trying to think what exactly is happening here. And it's like, okay, so she's basically trying to decide, did he Did he incite an insurrection, which is a crime? And how the heck can any individual decide that? That's not the way justice works in our country. So I think that's an important point for them to make. That forget about they've made the point that he cannot be convicted of it until there's a conviction from the Senate. That's one legal point they made. But let's take out a former president. Let's assume that John Eastman wants to run for president. Giuliani wants to run for president. Right? See, he doesn't have there was no situation with there being a former impeachment with a conviction by the Senate that was exonerating him. You don't need to come to that. Just ask yourself this question: can he be president if he got up at that speech? And let's say he said something. Let's say he actually said something far more aggressive. Let's say Giuliani had said something, and I do not believe he did. But let's say he had said something like, "We need to punish Congress, and we need to march out there and flog them. And you need to go there right now and do it." And the crowd just marches on out there and did it. And that set of factors. And he's not president. He's just some guy. Now, in order for him to have engaged in insurrection, would we not say that, okay, that's your opinion, that he engaged in insurrection, that's your individual opinion, but until such time as he is criminally established to have committed insurrection, that you cannot use this as a disqualification from holding office. That's the theory that I haven't really heard expressed by Trump's lawyers as of yet. Tina Lewis says, that's a good theory, Joe. Also, not only are they attempting to strip a person from running president, they're also stripping Americans the right to vote for the candidate of their choice. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. And that part of the argument is something that Scott Gessler raised in his opening statement about stripping millions of Americans of their choice, millions of Coloradans of their ability to choose who they want for president. So, all right, now I gotta try and find this thing. I have to try and the C-SPAN always starts a new link, so I need to try and find a new C-SPAN link. I'm sure that this thing is not good anymore, given their history. Look at that. Is it here? Is there a clock there? Oh, wow. Okay. To my mind, they say it's 10:50. No, that's right. 9:53. Yeah, over there. Okay. This is what I'm looking at right now. So the clock there says 9:53, 1:54, whatever. Looks like it's a minute or two slow. So I think that this is still a current link. In the past, when C-SPAN, when they've been when there's been a break, they would end the live stream and start a brand new link, which has been very, very frustrating and annoying. Let me see. Did she really get subpoenaed? Robert Cummins, McMaster. This guy's purposely not reading the entire section. There's only one remedy to remove this disability. A 2/3 vote by both houses. Okay, and how can any human know for certain that will not happen? That was the question that was raised yesterday, which you cannot answer. Do you know what's going to happen 5 months from now, 6 months from now, 8 months from now? No, you don't. Nobody does. You might think it's very unlikely. Arguably, it is. But how can Colorado make a determination based on what will happen in the future? Hence, it doesn't matter whether you get a 2/3 vote or a 97% vote. It doesn't matter what the yardstick is to remove that disability. First, the disability has to actually exist. Oh, that's what the whole issue is. Does the disability exist in the first place? But his point, and my point echoing that, is even if it did exist, it wouldn't matter because it might exist today and not exist 6 months from now. Even if you accept that exists today, which is kind of a ludicrous notion, but even if you did accept, given the Brandenburg Standard and his right of free speech, it sounds like a pretty stupid notion that you kind of have to be like really over here to accept. But even if you accept that, you still have another problem, which is that even if that disability exists today, nobody knows the future as to whether it will exist in the future, and as to whether or not it will exist at the time that he would be taking office. Hence, Colorado today is not in a position to say, because of this disability, we're not going to put him on the ballot. That is the problem. See, is it all becoming clearer now? I'm talking softly and trying to speak in smaller words so that everyone can understand it. I don't want anyone to feel excluded. All right, I assume all the issues with Rumble have been remedied, and that it was not an issue with my channel or my feed specifically, but it was more of a global Rumble problem that was remedied. There we go. Mom of 4 saying, let's show Joe some love. Buy him a cup of coffee. Lord knows I need the coffee. Lord knows I usually shower at night, but I actually showered this morning because I was so tired. I was like, I need to wake up. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come alive, come alive.
Before we proceed, it's my understanding that there continues to be streaming of these proceedings by individuals or entities who have not received permission from the court. And from Chief Justice Directive 2303, put out by the Colorado Supreme Court, which specifically says that unless a court grants express permission, or unless otherwise governed by this directive, no proceeding may be published, live streamed, or recorded other than for the official court record. I have given express permission to every single entity who made a timely request, and that was an actual media entity. So to the extent that those who are watching are doing so in violation of this court order, I again reiterate that it is prohibited under Colorado law.
I don't believe it's prohibited to anyone who's outside of the state of Colorado.
I was surprised to hear that again. I thought it would have been taken care of. Yeah, go figure.
I don't believe.
Apparently, I'm no longer connected to the WebEx. Do you see me in the room?
I'm not sharing Colorado. I'm sharing what C-SPAN is showing.
Let me try again. I apologize,
I
Your
don't
Honor.
believe that sharing what
it
C-SPAN
just popped
is
up as you
showing
started speaking. That
is something that's under the purview of the Colorado court.
I am.
I'm not using WebEx. I'm specifically using C-SPAN.
So you
and I don't believe
I'm
that.
just wondering, since the petitioners don't seem to have any problem with this.
I do not believe that applies. I don't believe Colorado.
I have one
Colorado
exhibit that I'm
judge or
going
the
to
Colorado
offer. It's one
court
video.
has any jurisdiction over anyone outside of the state of Colorado.
1082. Would you be able? Do you have that ready to go, or?
I have.
Well, I'm sorry, Your Honor. The problem isn't them. It's my computer for some reason. Apparently, my internet's in the computer is causing trouble.
And we're currently running off of my computer.
And
so
I'm
I
purposefully
can still
not
find it.
availing myself of the state of Colorado. I'm not in Colorado.
Can I just shut this down?
And I've never been part of Colorado, and I don't
Okay.
Well,
We're
I
going to
respect
just
the-
try it this way, Your Honor.
I have deep respect for the court.
We'll see what happens.
I don't think that Colorado has jurisdiction over me.
Right. I see him up there.
I'm not sure
He
why
just
they
won't be
would
able to
any
see me.
more than Thailand.
Well, and he actually,
I guess maybe he can from that camera.
yeah, if he sees what I see, he can see it, so.
Okay. Great.
I don't. Who's the witness?
Mr. Van Fleen.
Mr. Van Fleen, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, and we can hear you as well. Just make sure to speak up, okay? Can you raise
Hey, Joe, I
your
just posted a
hand?
live feed from the Minnesota Supreme Court on locals to remove Donald John Trump from the ballot. I would be a
Do you
good
swear
hearing
in the
review. It's
Constitution
currently live as
of the
well.
country that the testimony you will provide to this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Great.
Thank you for making time for us today, Mr. Van Fleen.
Absolutely.
And just try to stay fairly close to the microphone so the court reporter can hear you, if you don't mind.
All right, I'll try to speak up.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Van Fleen, can you tell us what your job is currently?
Currently, I am General Counsel and Chief of Staff for Congressman Gosar from Arizona.
And how long have you been in that position?
Since approximately 2012,
I'm sorry, you said Congressman Gosar?
Congressman Gosar, yes.
Ki-
GOSAR.
GOSAR, is that what you said?
I did, yes.
Thank you. On January 6th, were you in Washington, D.C.?
I was.
And at some point, did you go to the ellipse for the rally that was there?
I did.
In theory, yes, definitely.
Rally,
One would think.
8:30 in the morning.
And why were you going to the rally that day?
We had been invited to attend, and it was merely to show support at a rally, basically, with some speakers. There was obviously an electoral count proceeding later that afternoon, and this rally was, I think, done in anticipation of that to highlight what's going on in Congress that afternoon.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Van Fleen, you said we had been invited, did you attend with somebody else that you were referring to?
I did. I went with Congressman Gosar, and my wife was there.
And had the rally started when you arrived?
No, we got there prior to, as people were setting up. We were backstage for a while as the guests and speakers were showing up, and they were doing pre-rally setup still and getting ready. I don't think it started until a little bit after 9, and we were there by 8:30.
And how late did you stay?
Stayed there until approximately 10:40, I would say.
And so did you see President Trump speak?
No, I saw most of the speakers up until him. Maybe missed one prior to him.
And can you describe the rally for us in terms of what the crowd looked like to you?
To me, the crowd looked like a typical middle-aged spring and fall that day, and but people were in a good mood. People were singing. People were listening to music. They were broadcasting music with loudspeakers. It was pretty festive.
Thank you. And did you take any videos that day?
I did.
And did you take a video of Vernon Jones speaking?
I believe I did, yes.
Okay, could we play Exhibit 1082?
Yes, Your Honor. This is irrelevant to the same reasons previously raised with respect to other speakers in this trial.
Your Honor, we're not presenting the video to show Vernon Jones is speaking, where it actually shows the crowd as he's speaking, and the point is to see the crowd.
Same.
Beats me.
Well, I'm gonna let it, but, I maybe visit the Eastman Giuliani.
Like I said, this is not about showing the speaker.
I overruled the objection.
So is it going to be you or is it me? Okay, it's going to be you. Okay. Just a minute here, Mr. Van Fleen. We're working through technology to get the video up.
All right.
So, Mr. Van Fleen, in that video, you panned around to the crowd. Was that a good was what the crowd looked like in that video a good representation of what you saw when you were there that day? And can you describe again for us how you view the crowd that you saw in the video?
You're gonna have to speak up or get closer to the microphone, Mr. Van Fleen, sorry.
Okay, the crowd that I saw, that I walked through on my way there and walked through on the way out and was next to was just that way. They were cheering, they were chanting USA, sometimes they broke out singing or praying, and it was, like I said, more like a festival than a rally. There was no anger.
And did you see any hate or anger among the crowd at all?
Not when I was there.
And at any point, and you said you left the rally around 10:45, is that correct? Did I get that time right?
Yeah,
Page timed out. Resume playback. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Wow. 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 You think C-SPAN lost their permission because of me? Maybe they're having... What the heck? I got a notification that page timed out. Wow. Wow. Okay, so I want to be clear here. I'm doing everything I can to avoid purposefully availing myself of the state of Colorado. I'm not, which is the primary reason that I've not been using their feed. Because when someone, and I'll give you a little legal background here, if somebody is not a resident of a state, does not live in this state, but they are deemed to have purposefully availed themselves of that state, by choosing to engage with that state, they are thereby subjecting themselves to the laws of that state. You might not live in Wyoming, but if you decide to use their roads, you are purposefully availing. If you decide that that's where you're going to be advertising, hey, Cheyenne, Wyoming, you guys need to come on over here, you are purposefully availing yourself of that specific jurisdiction. And under American law, you can be held. If there's a termination that you are purposefully availing yourself of that jurisdiction, you are willfully submitting yourself to their laws and regulations. Now, the court feed, and this is my own personal opinion, I don't know, but I can expect that a court feed that is being issued by the state of Colorado's judiciary to the public, that if I decide to engage in that specific feed, that I am thereby more directly availing myself of the state of Colorado. And if I'm availing myself of the state of Colorado, certainly with respect to, and I do something that is illegal in the state of Colorado, that is something that theoretically I could be more. That's a violation of law, which is why I said I'm going to use the C-SPAN link, even though I don't like their audio as much as I like the audio of WebEx. Even though my audience wants me to use the WebEx from the state of Colorado. And that's why my personal perspective is I have the utmost respect for the laws of the state of Colorado and the judiciary and the power and jurisdiction of the court of the state of Colorado over Coloradans and those who purposefully avail themselves of Colorado. I do not believe that I am purposefully availing myself of the state of Colorado by using C-SPAN. I don't understand how that could possibly be. That being said, I do think that there's more of a question if I use the Colorado court feed. So I don't want to use that feed. I really don't. I think that could be something that I'm stepping beyond what I'm legally permitted to do. And I don't want to do something that's illegal. I don't advocate any of you do something illegal. And I certainly I'm not intending to do anything illegal here. So while I might disagree with the state of Colorado, I might think that what they're doing in this whole law is crazy. That doesn't mean I'm going to be flouting their right to pass laws in their own jurisdiction and say, well, I'm going to do whatever I want in your jurisdiction. That's like me going into your house and saying that I decided that I'm going to start doing a workout on some priceless Persian rug that you have. That's not right. So I am not going to, and that's why I'm trying. I think this is important information. I think this is an important trial. I think the public needs to see this trial. And I also think that the perspective that I offer while I'm watching a trial is unique and important and gives better context so that the public at large benefits from having that context and has a better understanding of our judicial system. I think that's a service that I'm providing to anyone who actually has the good fortune of finding my channel, despite YouTube's best efforts to keep it hidden. That being the case, I'm not looking to break the law. And I do think that I'm walking into more turbulent waters as to whether or not what I'm doing is a violation of Colorado law and purposefully availing myself of that if I use the court feed rather than C-SPAN. So I'm going to be restricting my coverage to C-SPAN unless I get advice from counsel, which tells me that I don't need to worry about that. And I've spoken to several attorneys. In the past, a long time ago, I actually spoke to an ethics counselor from the state where I practice saying, am I allowed to do this? And they said, I don't understand why they would have jurisdiction over you. I don't understand why the court would have jurisdiction over you. It was not for this case. It's for another case more than a year ago. So I believe it's more than a year ago. So this is not something I'm just dancing into without having any thought about it. This is something that I'm being mindful of making sure that I'm complying with the law. That being said, I'm going to try and find C-SPAN. I'm going to try and share. I'm going to try and continue streaming. And I do think it's wrong that we should not be able to see this trial be limited in any way. The implications from the judge just now was that she's only allowing to what she recognizes to be media, which to me sounds crazy. So that being the case, I do think I found a new link. I'm not sure if this is, and I just want to say thank you for your support, Jackie. Appreciate you. And yeah, and hopefully I don't end up facing serious trouble over this. But this is what I think is right in accordance with my understanding of both law and ethics. This is what I think is right. I think that respecting Colorado to the point that I'm not using their own feed in a way that they don't want, I think that is displaying my respect for the court and the state of Colorado and their own legislature and judiciary. Beyond that, me using C-SPAN, which I do not believe is part of Colorado, I think is completely appropriate. So I forgot to give you also a little show. So I'm going to see if I can catch a new feed here from C-SPAN. And it's possible that she knows she's being called out. I don't know. But some are saying C-SPAN is back. Try refreshing, Joe.
Did you hear members of the crowd yell, storm the Capitol, invade the Capitol building, take the Capitol?
Yes, sounds like they've been speaking of great efforts. That's exactly what he said.
Thomas Van
And did
Fleen.
that appear to be a video from the ellipse on January 6th?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you didn't hear anything like that at the ellipse rally that day when you were there?
No, I think there were 100,000 people there. Would have shocked me if somebody who's a moron would say something like that. Get a crowd of 100,000, but overwhelmingly that crowd was peaceful and patriotic and attending the rally for their president.
So, Mr. Van Fleen, do you know Ali Alexander?
I've met all of yes, I have.
And you know that Mr. Alexander founded an organization called Stop the Steal LLC?
I don't know the legal structure, but I'm aware that the Stop the Steal.
You know that Mr. Alexander organized Stop the Steal rallies after the 2020 election?
Yes, I'm aware of it.
And you told ProPublica in June 2021 that you were in regular contact with Mr. Alexander in the period after the 2020 election, didn't you?
Yes, we organized probably at least 3 Stop the Steal rallies in Phoenix, Arizona.
And was that with Representative Gosar?
I'm not sure if all of them were with Representative Gosar, but I think Representative Gosar spoke at least once or twice at those rallies, along with other elected officials.
You told ProPublica that, quote, Ali was very talented and put on some very good rallies on short notice, and that they had a, quote, great turnout. Is that right?
Yes, this is about.
It's actually personal jurisdiction, not subject matter.
Okay. About how many communications did you have with Mr. Alexander between Election Day 2020 and January 6, 2021?
I do not know that.
Would you say, if you had to ballpark it, dozens?
Are we talking like phone calls, text messages, in-person meetings, all communications?
All of the above.
I would say at least a dozen.
At least a dozen. Are you aware of the violent rhetoric that Mr. Alexander used at Stop the Steal rallies in the lead up to January 6, 2021?
I'm aware of fiery rhetoric by many people who speak on all political spectrum, and maybe always said some fiery rhetoric as well.
Well, let me give you some examples. I'm sorry, did you finish your answer?
This is the crew.
Let me give you some examples. Did you know that during a Stop the Steal rally outside of the Georgia State Capitol in November 2020, Mr. Alexander urged the crowd to, quote, storm the Capitol with him?
Yeah, I was not there.
This is the loudest I can get.
Did you know that at a different Stop the Steal rally in front of the Georgia governor's mansion in November 2020, Mr. Alexander goaded the crowd by saying, quote, we'll light the whole shit on fire? You aware of that?
It's funny.
No.
Did you know that Mr. Alexander told the crowd at a Stop the Steal rally at the U.S. Capitol on January 5th, 2021,
This sounds like
that, quote, we must rebel.
cross.
I'm not even sure I'm going to leave D.C. We might make this Fort Trump.
Where's? Can you read that again?
Sure. The quote is from January 5th, 2021, and Mr. Alexander said, quote, we must rebel. I'm not even sure I'm going to leave D.C. We might make this Fort Trump.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand what he's saying there. We must make what?
Did you know that Mr. Alexander was part of a group chat in which he communicated with Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio and Oath Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes between Election Day 2020 and January 6, 2021?
I am not part of that chat, so I'm not aware.
Did you know that Mr. Alexander was in contact with those two individuals?
I was not aware.
Did you know that on the morning of January 6, 2021, at 3:13 a.m., Mr. Alexander tweeted, quote, first official day of the rebellion?
Excuse me, Your Honor. I apologize. We are waiting on this stuff. I've been letting it go because I understand that we're trying to allow things to happen, but we are waiting on this vote. This sounds purely like an attempt to get all sorts of statements made by Mr. Alexander in front of you as opposed to actually asking questions that he's going to give answers to in the health court.
Your Honor, if I may, I will connect it up to January 6th with the next question.
Okay, I'll have one more question, but I agree that this is going a bit far afield.
But Mr. Van Fleen, you were unaware of that tweet by Mr. Alexander?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. Probably ask him these questions.
You were in communication with Mr. Alexander on January 6th, weren't you?
I would say probably, we had to confirm, where we're going to be and stuff like that.
In fact, you exchanged more than oh, I'm sorry, were you talking?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know specifically what we said unless you have a printout of a text message or something, but I'm sure I was in contact with that one.
Mr. Hain, please pull up Exhibit 167. So, Mr. Van Fleen, I'll represent to you that this is a compilation of text messages to and from Mr. Alexander that was publicly released by the January 6th Select Committee. And if we zoom in on the bottom corner here, you'll see that there's a GPO seal showing that this is an authenticated U.S. government record. Do you see that?
I do.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I still don't see the connection to the direct exam.
This is about Mr. Van Fleen's communications on January 6th with an individual who was involved in organizing rallies that day.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, let me see what happens with this, and then we can move to straight if no connection is made, okay?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
So let's look at the text messages. And just a note here that some of the text is garbled and the commas appear as apostrophes. So we'll try our best to read it. And Mr. Van Fleen, if you have any trouble, just let me know.
But these are texts with Mr. Van Fleen, right?
They are.
Oh, okay.
So if we could go to page 34.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I don't see how they are.
I think we're just looking.
Yeah, we're looking at.
It's coming out now.
Yeah. So we're on page 34, and there's a text at 5:36 a.m. on January 6th. And Mr. Alexander texted you, non-speaking members of Congress need to be there by 8:30. We don't have a shuttle. I will make sure they have security escorts walking back to the Capitol when it is time for session. Do you see that?
Yeah. Is that from me?
That is from Mr. Alexander to you. And you two were communicating that morning about members of Congress attending the Ellipse rally that day. Is that right?
That's what the conspiracy. I will object. These are my text messages. I was never notified. I was never subpoenaed for this. I was never given a chance to object to the disclosure of this text message. I don't know if it's authentic. I am not authenticating this because this is the first I've ever seen this.
So, Mr. Van Fleen, as I mentioned, and as I represented to you, this is authenticated information released by the January 6th Select Committee, and it's been stamped by an official GPO seal. So this is an official government record, and I can.
What I'm telling you is the communications are not. I don't know if this is accurate. I don't care if you put a stamp on there. This information, this text messaging, if it is authentic, was not obtained lawfully. I was never served with a subpoena.
Do you deny that?
Yes. We're gonna move on because he is allowed to ask you questions about this document, okay? We understand that you didn't release these records, but they apparently were released by Mr. Alexander.
So, Mr. Van Fleen, going back to what the text message says, you two were communicating here about members of Congress attending the Ellipse rally that day. Is that about right?
Okay.
Yes. So members of Congress needed security escorts because there was potential for violence on that day. Isn't that right?
Yeah, from Antifa.
There's a potential for violence every day.
Nice. Good answer. There's always potential for violence.
Others who make
In large crowds.
members of Congress and other people make threats to members of Congress. So having security, we have security briefings regularly. We have to go through.
And think about it. These are people who support Trump. Amongst Trump crowd. Why would they need security if not from Antifa?
So let's go to page 35 to the text message at 5:37 a.m. Mr. Alexander wrote to you here, quote, we
So
want 30
disingenuous
members
to
minimum.
suggest otherwise.
And you responded, okay. Do you see that?
I see this.
Okay. And then to the next text, also on page 35 at 5:46 a.m., you wrote to Mr. Alexander, quote, the objections are getting signed. They want a wet signature instead of auto pen. The doc can be signed quickly. Do you see that?
I do. Objection, Your Honor. Now we're getting into issues about the actual certification of votes as opposed to the rally, which is what you talked about.
So, Your Honor, my understanding was that there was a one-touch rule with these witnesses and that we get to ask all questions we want of the witnesses, particularly relating to the events of January 6th. While they're on the stand, we aren't able to recall the witnesses.
Yeah.
So we believe that this is fair game. And it's also within the scope of direct because Mr. Van Fleen testified about his activities on January 6th and his connection to the rally that day and Representative Gosar's activities that day.
Yeah. Why don't you ask him about who he slept with on January 6th, because it's all January 6th.
Exactly what these text messages are about. So I'm going to overrule the objection, and you can address any of these things on redirect. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So again, you were referring in this text message to Representative Gosar's objections to the counting of Arizona's electoral college votes that day. Is that right?
This is correct.
And let's go to page 35 again at 5:48 a.m. on January 6th. Mr. Alexander texted you, quote, can we send an email to the entire House Freedom Caucus if they all need to be at the ellipse? POTUS wants force. Do you see that?
I see that.
And you responded, we'll ask now. See that?
I see this.
So, Mr. Van Fleen, is it fair to say you were coordinating with Ali Alexander on January 6th?
Yep.
And these text messages show that he asked you to do things and then you did them.
Well, I'm not sure I do know that. I have contacted the executive director for the Freedom Caucus. I may not, but I didn't know if that's a fair statement. The text says we'll ask now. Whether I did ask now, I'm not sure.
So you may have just lied to him? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, what I'm saying is there's a lot going on today, and I can't always get to everything that people want me to get to.
So, Mr. Van Fleen, I want to skip past the rally and talk about when you were at the Capitol building. You started texting with Mr. Alexander again, didn't you?
I would move more objection, Your Honor. We are way beyond direct. Just because he happened to go through, just because he mentioned that he went back to the Capitol for the counting of the electoral votes, that wasn't the substance of it. That's the substance. That's what it was about. What happened at the Capitol. I mean, at the ellipse in the rally. And however, we are way beyond that.
Are you going to ask any questions about the siege of the Capitol?
Both the siege and the electoral vote objections, which he had already testified about. And, Your Honor, we would submit that his testimony about the knowledge of violence that day and the attack that day is relevant and is within the scope of direct. And in fairness, we have no ability to recall this witness and ask him these questions.
Your Honor, first of all, let me address the second piece first. They rested their case, they didn't call him. And if they had called him, then the one-time rule would have made it for us to talk to him at that point. It doesn't give him an opportunity to come back.
It's a good point. You can only ask in the scope of direct. I don't.
This was all about what happened at the ellipse. We're talking about the rally that was coordinated by Amy Kremer and what happened there. We're not talking, never once did we raise a question about the attack on the Capitol here on that day. And so he's trying to get in all sorts of additional information that touches his direct testimony.
So, Your Honor, as a practical matter,
Well, first of all, let's check the witness list.
he was not on our witness list, no.
Okay, so you weren't gonna call him, so the one-touch rule doesn't have any application. And I'm gonna apply the, they gave a limited, very, very limited direct Mr. Van Fleen.
Very, very limited.
You may ask him questions about the electoral count. because he, he's opened the door when he testified that he had to rush back to go deal with those issues. But he's not going to talk about whatever his reaction may or may not have been to the siege of the Capitol.
Understood, Your Honor. So I want to talk about Representative Gozar's objections that day to the counting of electoral college votes. Representative Gozar's objection was based on concerns of alleged voter fraud. Is that right?
I would say election irregularities.
You supported and worked on that objection, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you did so because you think the 2020 election was stolen from President Trump.
Everyone there thought it was stolen.
You don't think the election was stolen from President Trump?
That's the whole point.
No, I don't know if that's true.
That was the whole point.
What I worked on was there were reports from elected officials in Arizona, county and state legislators indicating that there were multiple irregularities. I don't know if it resulted in stealing the election from Trump.
You're aware that President Trump has claimed that the election was stolen from him, aren't you?
Everybody there.
So you disagree with President Trump?
Thought it was stolen. That's why they were there.
Objection, Your Honor. Again, we started talking about electoral votes, and now we're talking about what President Trump thinks.
Let's move on, please.
Last question on this. Representative Gosar won re-election on the same ballot as the presidential ballot for 2020. Isn't that right?
Objection, Your Honor. Now we're talking about Representative Gozar's re-election.
So, Your Honor, this is about the.
Just testify that there was voting irregularities, and that's why they were objecting for Congress. And his boss was elected in the exact same election. You can ask him whether he thought that was also whether there was irregularities in that election as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Van Fleen, do you need me to repeat the question?
I believe you asked if Congressman Gosar was elected in the 2020 election as well.
And did Representative Gosar object to his own re-election on the basis of alleged voter irregularities?
No, he did not have any concern that his election was contaminated with any election irregularities. Most of his voting counties at that time was Yavapai, Mojave County, and Yuma County, and La Paz County. None of those counties, even in the presidential election concerns, were implicated. It's Maricopa County and Pima County where the elected officials in Arizona had the most concern. In addition, Congressman Gosar got re-elected, I think at 20-some points in that election, maybe 25 points. It was not close at all. Whereas in a close race, any election irregularities can be outcome determined. And in the case of Mr. Biden and President Trump, or President Biden and Mr. Trump, however you want to look at that, the elections are closer. And if there was an election irregularity within a 15,000 vote spread out of 2 or 3 million votes cast, it's a lot easier or a lot more concerning when you win like 20 points. It's not as urgent or concerning.
Understood. President Trump carried the state of Arizona in 2016. Isn't that right?
To my knowledge, yeah.
And did Representative Gosar object to President Trump's victory in that state in 2016?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection. Let's move on, please.
That was my final question. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Van Fleen, counsel asked you about one of the J6 committee findings. Do you remember that? Was that Exhibit 107?
I think it was Exhibit 78, finding 107.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, 78. Yeah, finding 107. Do you think that the January 6th committee's findings are credible?
No, what I
Yeah, hold on. You're going to have to get closer and speak up because we're not hearing you.
The answer to that question is I don't think the January 6th committee was initiating an investigation in good faith. It started with a fear and conclusion, which is not a good way to start an investigation, and they selected evidence that they wanted, in my opinion.
That's a good answer.
And when you say they selected evidence that they wanted, why is that a problem?
Well, a fair investigation, you would want to consider all evidence and not discard or not even bother to investigate evidence that could run counter to the theory that you started with. Actually, a real investigation wouldn't even start with a theory. It would just start with reality facts and see what they think. They started with a conclusion and looked for evidence to support that conclusion. That's my fundamental disagreement with how that committee did its job.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Fleen. No more questions, Your Honor.
It was a very
So
good
I
answer.
think he's done.
Well, I don't know, I mean, if you really open up a whole new thing.
Well,
With this, what his opinions on the January 6th committee, so if they want to ask him about what the foundation is for those opinions, I'm gonna let them.
Okay.
I don't know if they want to or not.
Briefly, Your Honor.
Mr. Van Fleen, what visibility did you have into the process of the January 6th Select Committee?
say that again.
What visibility did you have into the process of the January 6th Select Committee?
Visibility I had was what was ever being public. I was not a member of that committee or a member of staff, so I'm only aware of what was being public.
So you have no personal knowledge of the inner workings of that committee?
The inner workings, no, I was not on the committee or committee staff.
Thank you. No further questions.
For example, thing is.
It's not relevant. The point is he's saying why he doesn't trust the committee. So just because he has,
Your Honor, I would move to strike this answer.
I can't hear you. We can't hear you, and there wasn't a question.
the issue is why he doesn't trust them.
But it does, you want to ask?
What level of information he has is not relevant to that.
Follow up on what he wanted to talk about.
As long as
Even if he's wrong, that's not relevant,
I'm not really interested in.
which I don't think he is at all.
So, Mr. Van Fleen, you were starting to talk about an FBI report. Is that correct?
Correct. I was missing the FBI report. That's, to me, the FBI had already investigated whether there was any coordination between President Trump and any of the rally organizers in terms of planning violence or promoting violence or expectations. The issue report where Reuters did an exclusive.
Your Honor, this has nothing to do with the January 6th report.
Everything to do with it. You just asked why he doesn't believe him.
He's talking about some report that I've never seen, and nobody has presented as evidence in this case.
They just questioned why he doesn't believe the January 6th report. He's explaining why.
Reuters, they have the report from the FBI saying there's no evidence that the Capitol attack was coordinated by anybody, that it was more or less a spontaneous situation on the ground. And then my point is that the committee never even references this report and findings by the top law enforcement agency in the United States that was intended to determine the very issue this court is looking at right now, and that is whether President Trump or some of his people coordinated violence. And the FBI said no. That's an August 20th, 2021 report and story by Reuters called Exclusive. The FBI finds scant evidence the United States Capitol attack was coordinated.
And so because
I'm striking all of that testimony. If the interviewers want to put on as evidence an FBI report, I'm more than happy to consider it, but I'm not gonna.
He's explaining why he thinks that it's garbage.
About what some newspaper articles said. I excluded all newspaper articles in this case, and about a report that isn't for the court. So I'm striking all that testimony. I'm more than happy to look at the report itself if the interviewers want to put that on as evidence.
all right, thank you, Your Honor. And we have no more questions.
Okay. Anything from the Secretary of State?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything from the Colorado Republican Party?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Mr. Van Fleen. You are released.
Thank you.
I'm aware that the
Your Honor,
audio is garbage.
Mr. Gessler is going to call
I've
Mr.
sent it
Bjorkman
next
here.
volume.
Joanna Bila is keying up the exhibits for him right now, and it may just take a minute or two.
Okay.
I strongly recommend.
Am I correct that this will be the last witness this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
So it
I
sounds
strongly
like we'll
recommend
have a
earphones.
longer break before Congressman Buck.
Yeah, but he's planned to testify at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may just step out to get Mr. Bjorkman.
Oh, he's here, great.
Yeah, he's going to be in person.
Scott Kessler.
Is this computer for me to use here?
No, that's Jeff's.
Okay. Do I need my computer? Or I'll just look at that.
Who we got? Supposed to be only 2 witnesses left.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you will give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Great. Please could you speak into the microphone, okay?
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Bjorkman. Could you please state and spell your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Tom Bjorkman, and that's BJORKLUND. Tom spelled.
Okay, thank you. And do you live here in Colorado? Certainly.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And what job or your avocation, what position do you hold?
I'm the owner of Technical Data Solutions, data company, a small investment company called Rhetoric. And I serve as the state party, Republican Party treasurer.
Are you here today on behalf of the Republican Party?
No, I'm not here on behalf of the
Okay. Have you had any conversations about the substance of your testimony with Mr. Dave Williams, who's the chair of the Republican Party?
No.
Okay. I'm going to take you back to the events of January 6, 2021, and a few days leading up to that. When did you first learn about a rally being held in Washington, D.C. on January 6th?
It was probably mid-December. I heard about it from my brother.
Okay. And did you and did your brother express an opinion about the January 6th rally?
Yeah, well, he just said that there was going to be a big rally for Donald Trump.
Week.
And he asked if I'd like to meet him up there. He's from Minnesota, so I told him I think about it and decided to go.
Okay. And when did you decide that you wanted to go?
Well, as soon as he mentioned it, I wanted to go, but it was just a matter of just trying to figure out
I don't think that's possible unless it had a second channel to stream to.
Great, thank you.
I don't think it's possible. I would
Had
do
you
this.
been
but
to
I
a
don't think I needed a second channel.
rally involving President Trump before?
No, not a campaign rally. I went to the.
I would do it.
Service and he was speaking there.
Okay. And had your brother, to your knowledge, been to a rally involving President Trump?
No.
Okay. And did your brother express an opinion as to why he wanted to go?
Yeah, he's a big Trump supporter.
Okay.
He just wanted to go and support the president.
Okay. So I'm sorry, when did you decide that you wanted to go roughly?
Well, I decided I wanted to go was the action, but I just didn't know if I could go. So about a week before is when I decided that I'm going to commit to going.
A week before what?
A week before the 6th, so yeah, like late December.
Okay. And why did you want to go?
My main reason was I wanted to see my brother.
Okay. And I'm sorry, and go camping as well. Okay. So when you're thinking of leaving, what did you do to prepare to before you left?
Just got the camping trailer ready, and I contacted. Some people said they were going up there, and I contacted them. Decided I'd like to maybe have somebody to ride along with, and asked them if they knew anybody that wanted to ride.
So you drove up there, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you wind up driving with anyone?
Yeah, there was a gentleman they introduced me to named Travis, and I don't know his last name. He needed a ride, and so I told him I would include him.
Okay. Did you have any conversations with any of your, did you tell your family members that you were leaving? Did you have any conversations with them?
Yeah, I told
Objection, hearsay.
Just hearsay. I'm not sure what the point is, but, or if it's offered for that. Why don't you? Let's see.
I think we need to hear his answer before an objection is proper, Your Honor.
Not necessarily, it's asking him what he told other people out of court, but I'll allow it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I told my family that I was going out to go to Trump's speech on January 6th, and I told, I think I posted on Facebook that I was going to go up there.
Okay. And did you have any conversations with your son about whether you're heading to Washington, D.C.?
Yes, I told my son I was going.
And what was the substance of those?
I think he's afraid of being primaried.
The main thing,
Maybe.
he was concerned about my safety, and he was just worried about me.
And why were you concerned about your safety?
Definitely.
And why is that?
Well, I'd seen videos, Betty, or whatever her name is. She's a activist for pro-life causes, and somebody, Antifa, stabbed her in the back and tried to kill her. And then I saw a Portland riot, and then followed some Trump supporters, and they shot him in the back, killed him. I saw Rand Paul get attacked by Antifa, Black Lives Matter.
Objection, Your Honor, Rose.
He's explaining why he was afraid.
It goes.
What is the relevance?
It goes to his state of mind
And why people wear
and
riot gear.
the motivation for some actions that he took in going up to January 6th.
And why is his state of mind relevant?
If you give me a few more questions, Your Honor, I think I'll tie it up. And if opposing counsel seeks to strike, we can deal with it then, Your Honor.
I'll let you proceed, Mr. Kessler.
Okay. So based on the concerns you had, did you or your son, did you take any action for preparations before you left?
Yeah, my son offered me, it's called a plate carrier. It's like body armor.
Okay. And
He wanted me to wear it in case I got shot by Antifa or stabbers.
okay.
Perfect.
And what's your son's occupation?
He works for the laundry police department.
Okay. And
This is what they needed to show that they're not there to fight, that they're
did you in
not gonna
fact
hurt.
take that,
by Antifa.
you called it a plate carrier or body armor?
Yeah.
Did you take that or load it in your vehicle?
Yeah, I took it with me and I put it in the back of the truck, in the back seat.
Okay. How long did it take you to get to Washington, D.C.?
We drove straight through. I left the Denver area and I picked up Travis, and then we drove It was about 24 hours or 25 hours, something like that.
Okay. And when you got to DC, where did you stay?
I stayed at a campground, maybe 6 or 20 minutes from DC area.
Okay.
It's been
I'm going
used
to
to
play
show
for
what
you
their
a
objectives
video.
were.
Could you do?
And this testimony is refuting that. So you're allowed to wear body armor wherever you want, but the question
I want you to
that
take,
leads is
I want you to
why
take a
are
look
you
at this
wearing
video, Mr. Bureau.
it? Is it because you want to be aggressive and hostile, or is it for defense? So that's why they're putting him up there to show that he's wearing it to stay protected from hostile counter protesters, rather than because they're looking to go on the attack on Congress. It's very important testimony. And he's only one person, but welcome, Zach. Quoting the nose, government should fear the people, not the people fearing the government.
Okay, I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Hello. Did you take that video?
I did.
So I will submit to you that it may seem like a boring video, but I'm going to ask you why'd you take this video? What's going on in there?
I just saw these giant buses with Donald Trump stuff. I was actually concerned about the campground, and so I felt kind of relieved that the people right behind our camper is a bunch of Trump voters and supporters or whatever people, old people like her.
Is this a video of the campground where you stayed?
Yes.
Okay. And did you meet any of the people in the campground?
Yeah, we went over and said hello, and my brother went over right away when he saw the buses, and we met the owner of the buses, and then they invited us to a barbecue.
Okay. And can you describe the people that you met?
Average age about 60 plus, and just very friendly, like tourists. And I guess they paid this gentleman on these buses to come out and see Donald Trump's speech. And so we had a big barbecue, very friendly, and yeah, it was a good time.
Okay.
And we were hungry.
And Your Honor, I'd move to admit Exhibit 1000, please.
I almost went also, E. Hondo. I ended up not going. On January 3rd, I was
and
still undecided.
Can you describe, sir, you
the
said
day
there
I
was
met
a
Nick.
big barbecue. Can you describe the atmosphere?
Yeah, it was just
January
we were
4th.
just having fun. It was a big party, and he had gazillions of burgers, and I actually helped flip some burgers for him while we went around, the owner of the buses. We talked about his business model and stuff like that.
And to your knowledge, why were all these people there in Trump buses?
There
If he has a understanding as to why people were there, he can testify as to that.
Yeah, it was a tour bus caravan, and they were all just there to see Donald Trump's speech, and that was pretty much it.
Okay. So is it fair to say you slept overnight then at that location that you videoed?
Yeah, behind that, I saw that as my camera.
Okay. And what day was that video was taken?
That was on January the 5th.
Okay. So tell me about the next morning of January 6th. I'm assuming at some point you woke up, and then what did you do at that point?
Yeah, I got up and we just took all of our gear and equipment and other things, and then I locked it in the back of the truck because my camper is a pop-up. It's like a tent, and so I didn't feel anything secure there, so I just crammed everything into the truck and locked it up. And then we took my brother's car to the DC area.
Okay, let me back up just one sec. So when you say you took your brother's car and you're trying, did you at some point while you're traveling from Denver to Washington D.C. meet up with your brother?
Yeah, he actually met me at the campground. I set up the tent and everything, and they arrived after I did all the work.
So you didn't travel with him; he met you there.
Yeah.
Okay. So the body armor that you had brought with you, what did you do with that?
I left it in the truck.
And why'd you leave it in the truck?
It was kind of heavy, and I just felt like I wasn't going to add to any type of warmth, and which was my main concern, was pretty cold that morning, and I just felt like I wasn't there to cause trouble, and I thought if I wore body armor, it would maybe make me a target, and so I decided to leave it.
Okay. And then when, so you got in your brother's car. What did you do? What did you all? Was there anyone with you, and you and your brother?
Yeah, my brother brought a friend, or I guess somebody who worked for him, and who was a huge Trump supporter. And his name was Scott. And,
I'm sorry, what was his name?
I think he's Sorry. And yeah, we just got in the car. We actually did some repairs to the trailer that kind of bounced around. But like they did that during construction, so we take some stuff and then we got in the car.
Okay. And where'd you go?
We drove directly to the Capitol, and we found a small parking lot right by the it's called the Tides Pond, and or the Tides Pool, I think is what it's called. And we parked right there. It was maybe 25 car lot. It wasn't very big. It was just lined up, and then it was directly across from the Washington Monument, the big tall Washington Monument.
Okay. Had you been to DC before prior to this?
That would explain why I have so few followers.
And then where did you go after you parked?
We tried to connect with some people that I had gotten in touch with, and they were all over the map. It was hard to find them, so we just hung out by the big Washington Monument.
Okay. And when you say we hung out, who was we?
Just my brother, his friend Scott, and myself.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. And why did you go to the Washington Monument area?
I guess just that big tall thing was talking to us. So I mean, we hung out there, and there was a lot of people there. And it looked like the ellipse area was really packed, and I don't really like the crowd, so we just hung out there at the monument.
So is it fair to say you were there to listen to President Trump's speech?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So listen to speeches, yeah.
Okay. And from your position near the Washington Monument, did you think that you were able to listen to the speech?
Yeah, they had big speaker set up so we could hear what was going on. And we listened to some of the speeches.
Okay. Can you play Exhibit 1001, please?
This is for Greg. Oh.
Did you take that video?
I did.
Okay. And how did you take that video?
With my iPhone, and yeah, I just panned around. I'm obviously not a very good photographer.
And is that sort of where you were standing to listen to the speeches?
Yeah, that's exactly where we were.
Okay. And do you know who was speaking in the background there?
I think that was Donald Trump Jr. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I'd like to move to admit Exhibit 1001, please, Your Honor.
1001 is submitted.
Okay. And can you describe what the crowd was like, or the people in the crowd?
Very friendly. It was diverse. There was actually a big line of people that said Asians for Trump, and they were really super nice. And we were talking to them, and just, everybody was just there having a good time. Listen to those speeches.
Okay. What was the temperature like outside?
It was freezing cold. It was windy, and it was very cold.
Okay. Yeah. Can you give us a sense of maybe how big the crowd was there at the ellipse?
I'm guessing, like, if you looked at the whole crowd, maybe 350,000.
Okay. Let's look at Exhibit 1002, please.
And showing the normalcy of the typical attendee is important. I'm sure he's going to be questioned about whether he thinks that the election was stolen, things of that nature. Which is pretty stupid, because anyone who's attending will say yes to that. And it's a way of basically trying to discriminate against anyone who questions the narrative. Like, we think that you're a crazy person and not lacking credibility.
Did you take that
because
video?
you question what we tell you.
So what's going on in there?
Well, all these motorcycles pulled up, and I thought it was pretty cool, so I got my camera and started filming. They're on these Harleys, and then the horses came up, and I believe that was Park Police. And my brother was saying, "God bless you guys." And there was a woman there, you could hear her in the background, and people were just kind of.
Mr. Rubel, would you mind disorienting for me, like where you were versus where the speeches were happening? I know you said you could hear them on speakers, but like, how far were you from where the action was happening?
Yeah, the speeches were kind of boring, and so we just decided to walk across the street from the Washington Monument, and we went over to, I think there's a World War II monument. There was a monument there, and we wanted to see that. And so we just walked over there to take a look, and then and that's where the park we were. So it's very close to where we were actually at. You can see the monument right there.
How far was the monument where you were on the original video from where the speeches were taking place?
It was probably 100 yards or a couple hundred yards.
So a few football fields?
Yeah.
Thank you, sorry, I just not wanting to.
I was planning on going there next. No, which is fine. I just want to make sure. Do you have a good understanding, Your Honor? Do you? No, he's an open book, Mr. Bjorklund. So, but I want to make sure. Do you have a sense of comfort having a sense of where he was there?
And was the crowd continuous from the monument to where the speeches were taking place?
Yeah, it was very packed. It was less so by the monument. I think most of the crowd wanted to be closer to Donald Trump.
Go ahead, sorry, Mr. Kessler.
Oh, no problem, Your Honor. Your Honor, I move to admit Exhibit 1002.
1002 submitted.
Okay. And then after sort of looking at I'll call it a motorcade and the horses, did you move back to listen to the speech?
Yeah, we wanted to hear Donald Trump, so, and there were like a whole string of people before, so then we went back across the street and wanted to hear Donald Trump's speech.
Okay. Could you play Exhibit 1003, please? So is that you in the video?
Yeah, so.
Okay. So it looks as though you sort of have a hoodie on and a cap. Why are you wearing the hoodie like that?
Actually, I didn't have enough layers in that, so we found a vendor, and I bought that hoodie at the vendor table. It was really cold, so I put that on.
Okay. And was that who was speaking?
That was Donald Trump speaking.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Senior. President.
Okay. And how would you describe the crowd and the crowd's reaction?
It was entertaining. We were laughing because he was saying some really funny things, so we were just cracking up. It was hard to hear that stuff when he was throughout the speech saying things that were just nice laugh. We were just having fun hanging out.
And when you say we were having fun hanging out, who are you referring to when you say we?
My brother, Steve, and we just talked to all the people around. Everybody was pretty happy and just being there and listening to the speech.
Was there sort of laughter in addition to yourselves? Were other people sort of laughing at what some of what President Trump said?
Yeah, definitely very entertaining.
Okay. I would move to admit exhibit number 1003, Your Honor.
1003 submitted.
Okay. Now, did you listen to the entire speech?
No, near the end, he said that we were going to go down to the Capitol, and he said he wanted us to go down to the Capitol and peacefully make our voices heard or something to that effect. And then we decided, well, let's go find a bathroom. That was pretty much our main mission at that time.
And did you succeed in that mission?
Yeah, we found a public restroom and then we went back to the car and so yeah.
So you said you looked for a bathroom and then went back to the car. How long did that take, roughly?
Probably 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like that.
Okay. And from the car, did you all make a decision to in fact go to the Capitol?
Yeah, we went to the car. My brother's complaining as he was hurting, and so he said he'd like to. He wanted to go, and I was kind of the same opinion. Like we've seen the speech, and let's take off. It's really cold, and so but my brother heated up the car, and then Steve said he really wanted to see the Trump speech down at the Capitol, and he was real adamant. He said, we didn't drive all the way from Minnesota to miss out on Trump's speeches. So, so my brother said he would stay in the car, And so I was figuring out 10, and he said he would wait around for us, and he understood if we wanted to go. So I just went along with Steve, and we started walking towards the Capitol.
Okay. Let's go to exhibit 1004. Can you play that, please? Oh, I'm sorry. This is a photo, exhibit 1004. And I may have to ask you to back up in your testimony. What's that a photo of?
Just the crowd looking at I think that they were looking at the ellipse. I just wanted to kind of get a sense of the crowd. This was after we, I think, came back from the bathroom.
Okay. Did you take this photo?
I did.
Okay. I'd like to move to admit this exhibit 1004.
No objection.
1004 is admitted. You said this was at the ellipse stuff
Yeah, I think it's looking toward the ellipse.
from the Washington Monument.
Yes.
And was this, let me ask you again, was this during the speech or was this after you had gone to the car and come back?
I believe it was after. I think that's. That might have been during the speech because there was still a lot of people there.
Can you orient, was this before you started walking to the Capitol?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to exhibit 1005, please. This is another photo. Did you take this photo?
Yeah, these were taken into possession. So.
Okay. So is it fair to say this is another photo of the crowd looking towards the ellipse?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd move to admit this photo, Your Honor.
No objection.
1005 is admitted.
And finally, exhibit 1006, please. Okay. So this is a different type of photo than what we just saw. Did you take this photo?
Yeah, I did.
And what's going on? Describe how you took the photo, what was going on when you took the photo and what's in the photo, please.
I took a picture of the Capitol and just, there was some people going down that direction, so I snapped a picture. I thought it was, I just wanted to get a picture of the Capitol.
Okay. And when did you take this photo in relation to the other stuff you've talked
I
about?
believe that was right before we started heading down.
Okay. So you've already been to the car at this point. Is that correct? Okay. And you're starting to walk down to the Capitol. Okay. And this is what you saw.
Yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd move to admit exhibit 1006, please.
No objection.
1006 is admitted.
Okay, let's look at exhibit 1007, please. Okay, did you take that video?
Yes, I did.
And when did you take that video in relation to the last photo we saw?
That was immediately following that last photo, and we just were heading down to the Capitol building.
Okay. I don't know if there's any more detail to ask beyond that. Your Honor, I mean, can you describe, were you talking to people on the way?
Oh, yeah, we were talking to different people, and there were some newspapers around. We had picked up some of them, we were handing them out to people. And I was being the idea. There was a bunch of newspapers, so we grabbed them. I told them to save me one.
Okay. And in your conversations with people, can you sort of describe the atmosphere or their behavior?
Yeah, we were just casually going towards the Capitol building, and we were, hoping to hear Donald Trump speak at the Capitol.
Okay. I move to admit Exhibit 1007, Your Honor.
No,
Let's go to Exhibit 1008, please.
So that was 1007?
Yes, ma'am.
1007 is admitted.
My apologies. So this is a photo. Did you take this photo?
Yeah, I kept just trying to get a sense of the big crowd coming behind us, and we were pretty late, and that crowd was still coming, so that was a huge crowd. And so the Capitol would be directly behind me, and I'm looking at the Washington Monument.
What do you mean when you say you were kind of late or pretty late?
Well, we spent a lot of time looking for a bathroom, and after Donald Trump said to go down to the Capitol, and then we went to the car and he warmed up, which took a while, and then, so it was, we were in a big rush to get down there.
Do you have an estimate, a time, what time this was roughly after the, in relation to the speech or time of day?
I'm thinking that it was around 12, 20, something like that.
Okay. I'm going to represent to you that there's a fact in this case that President Trump's speech ended around 1:10. Does that help you orient us to what time this may be?
Yeah, it was supposed to be 2 o'clock. Yeah, it was on Mountain Time, sorry. All my pictures were at Mountain Time.
Okay, so what time do you think this was roughly?
It was probably around 10 o'clock.
Okay. Okay. Your Honor, I'd move to admit Exhibit 1008.
1008 is admitted.
Let's look at Exhibit 1009, please. So this is another photo. Did you take this photo?
Yeah, I was following that first one. I just zoomed in on that crowd and the Washington Monument.
Okay, so at this point, your back is to the Capitol. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then you're facing the Washington Monument. Okay. And this
again,
is
all
what you
this
saw,
testimony is
correct?
designed to establish that this was a normal rally, not a planned insurrection.
I'd like to move for the admission of
Everything
Exhibit
here,
1009.
the entire vibe is this is a normal rally. No one's coming to overthrow the government.
Okay, let's move to Exhibit
This
1000.
this is people who are are pretty clearly looking to protest peacefully and have their voices heard. I was silent for the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so as I was setting up the afternoon stream. So that's already set up. I'm relying on their comment that Ken Buck is supposed to be testifying at 1 p.m. Mountain. So I set that up to start at 1 p.m. Mountain time. I haven't set up in Rumble yet because they don't let me do that, but I will create the Rumble link.
So did you take that video?
I did.
Okay, and just tell me what that's a video of.
That was a video we were getting really close to the crowd that was at the Capitol building, and I just did a pan around.
Social credit score is dying with tactical gear.
Okay, and And again, who were you with at the
It
time?
was one big rally. It's called the Summer of Love. Yeah.
Okay. And were you talking to people in the crowd?
Yeah, we were just small talk on the way down there.
Okay. And can you describe sort of the atmosphere or people's reactions or emotional state?
Yeah, some people were talking about the votes that were going on inside. There was,
This would be awesome,
and
Tina.
I
This
heard
would be
people
amazing.
have radios and like radios, and they were listening to speeches or whatever, and people were just generally talking. Steve obviously doesn't like Mike Pence.
So when you say Steve obviously doesn't like Mike Pence, you heard someone in there saying, I hate Mike Pence?
Yeah, that was Steve.
Okay. And then let's look at Exhibit 1011, please. Oh, I'd move to admit Exhibit 1010, Your Honor.
No, okay.
2010.
I would love it to see what this question asked. That'd be amazing. I don't expect it to happen.
Can you put that on pause, please? Let's start that video over. I want to make sure, Your Honor, that it doesn't seem as though there's sirens in the video. Those are in the background. Okay, did you take that video?
I did.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you some questions. So are you closer to the Capitol than the last video?
Yeah, we on our way there, we heard these explosions, and Steve said, "Hey, they're lighting off fireworks." And so we were looking in the sky. We were looking for fireworks, but we didn't see any fireworks. We thought that was in honor of Trump speaking. We thought we were late to the speech, so we kind of just got closer to the crowd, and then I shot that video, and there was a guy in Borland telling people to go closer to the Capitol, and that we say.
You mean there was a Fed? There was a Fed telling people to go closer to the Capitol.
So when you said that you back the blue, what did you mean when you said that?
Pretty much the crowd, I believe, and myself, we respect law enforcement.
I'm sorry, say that again?
We have a respect for law enforcement.
Okay. You have to lean into the mic a few times. And so there was a person, we heard a person with a megaphone. You spoke with that person?
No, well,
the mic is poorly positioned. It should be positioned from the other side of the podium, because they're naturally going to be looking in the opposite direction. And if you're not used to talking to a mic, you're going to be having your mouth away from it. It's very stupid.
So you yelled back at him? Okay. And maybe without describing any expletives or anything, can you tell a little bit more detail what you yelled back at him?
Yeah, he was yelling for us to go into the crowd, and that's where we saw there was tear gas, and he mentioned that they were tear gassing us, and he was telling people to go into the crowd, and I said, "Screw you." That's what I said.
Okay. So did you go closer to the crowd at that point?
No.
Okay. And why not?
I don't like crowds.
Okay. And you said there were tear gas and whatnot.
Yeah.
What did you see?
I saw at that point we realized they weren't fireworks. They were police officers, and they were shooting into the crowd. And big explosions going on right in the middle of a bunch of people. And this guy's yelling, go into the, go over there. And I'm like, that's stupid.
Okay. I'd move to admit Exhibit 1011, Your Honor.
No,
That's one that's admitted.
Okay. Let's go to Exhibit 1012.
And it seems cumulative, but it's one scene after another designed to show that everyone there had the intention of attending a rally. Look at all those people there. The vast majority not thinking about storming the Capitol or doing anything of that nature. That's not what any of this was ever about.
Okay, did you take that
Very
video?
important.
I did.
Now, where were you in relation to the Capitol at this point?
I was on I'm not sure of the directions there, but I was on just beside the Capitol. I went opposite of what that guy was yelling and he told us we were going the wrong way. But I went, there was some, looks like some temporary bathrooms that were set up.
Precisely,
And,
John. Yeah.
We walked over that way and I just was coming around the side of the Capitol.
Okay, so I'm going to orient you. So you're walking earlier with the Washington Monument behind you and the Capitol in front of you. And when you said you went to the side of the Capitol, did you go to your right or left?
Went to the right.
Okay. And so you're walking around the Capitol at this point?
Yeah, behind temporary bathrooms I got set up.
Okay. And then you heard well, it sounded like there was a big bang in there. What's going on with that?
Yeah, they were still shooting flashbangs and tear gas into the crowd, and so.
I think this guy will hold up well
Okay.
on the cross.
At this point, did you see any violence, anyone hurting anyone else?
Only Capitol Police. That's all I can see from where I was. I mean, just shooting, flashbangs and stuff at people.
Okay. And from what you could see from where you were, what were people that you were able to see or in the crowd doing at that point?
A lot of them were in disbelief, and they were, just saying, "I can't believe they're shooting at us." People were just talking about what was going on, and I just felt like, well, they obviously don't want us in that spot.
Okay. Were people in your area of the crowd moving towards the Capitol, away, staying stationary? What were they doing as far as movement goes?
Most people were just standing there. They weren't moving towards the Capitol, and I avoided the big crowd. So, where they were shooting, they clearly didn't want people over there, so I didn't go over there. And I was, and at that point, I lost Steve somehow. I don't know where he went. I turned around and he's gone.
Okay, so at this point you were alone?
Yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd move to introduce Exhibit 1012.
And think about how everyone, when you hear term January 6th and picture in your mind, it's been embedded in your brain to picture.
Let's go to Exhibit 1013, please.
Utter chaos. Whether it's people screaming heave ho, or people storming through the windows or climbing up the Capitol, because that's what the media portrayed, that's what J6 committee portrayed over and over. And this is very important to remind the judge that was not the experience for the overwhelming majority of people who attended. The overwhelming majority of people were like Tom Bjorkman over here, who basically were there to support what they believed in and not intending to commit any crimes. And those are the people that these are the people that Trump was talking to. These are the people that he wanted to have huge numbers of to protest. This is a very, very important thing, because this imagery, when does anyone, no one thinks of it looking like this.
Did you take this video?
They might picture Trump speaking
and
at
where
the ellipse.
where were you at this point?
That was just directly.
But they picture carnage, smoke.
Okay.
That's what they
Still
picture.
how about in relation to
is
Capitol?
the healthy
It's,
picture.
yeah, near the scaffolding. So
That's so important.
Again, on the right side of the Capitol, and I tried to get a view of the scaffolding where a lot of people were, and so I just.
Okay.
Yeah, multiply. That's what it was. 9/11 multiplied by Pearl Harbor. That's what
Well,
this
first,
looks like.
let me
You can see it on your
move to
screen
Admit
right
Exhibit
here.
1013.
Oh my God! Look at those bombers coming in. There's another destroyer going
Your
down.
Honor, I'm probably about ready to move into a different section of testimony. And I don't think there's any way we'll finish, or it's highly unlikely we'll finish Mr. Bjorklund before noon. If I may suggest, as a humble suggestion only, that perhaps we could break now. We could have Congressman Buck testify at 1 o'clock. We could resume Mr. Bjorklund after that, and I'm confident we will be out probably well before 4 o'clock, maybe even before 3 o'clock today.
Okay, you don't think that you can finish your direct examination by noon?
I can try. I think it's probably unlikely, but that's why I just wanted to make a suggestion.
You're going to want to have a cross afterwards.
Right from 11:30 to 1, we'll hear Congressman Buck, and we'll resume with Mr. Bjorklund, if that's okay with Mr. Bjorklund?
Sure.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, just one quick issue to raise related to something you had suggested earlier. We had talked over the possibility of doing closing arguments tomorrow, and it's the petitioner's view that we should put them off until a later date, once the findings of fact and conclusions of law have been submitted, because I think at that point in time, the arguments of both parties will have been fully joined, and Your Honor may have questions on some of the legal issues and some of the findings of fact at that point. And we believe at that point in time, it would be good to have the closing arguments. We just effectively had closing arguments yesterday, and I don't know if they would be too much more robust or fulsome than that if we had them again tomorrow. And I'm not sure they would incorporate all of the legal issues that you would want perhaps to hear on. So it would be our position to put it off.
And Mr. Kessler, how about you?
I think that makes sense, actually, Your Honor. We don't have any objection.
An agreement?
Look at that.
I will note that I think opposing counsel has been able to cooperate pretty well in this case. I hope we have.
It's actually true. You don't see it behind the scenes, but I think it's been good. I was going to say one last. Oh, sorry.
Ms. Rasmussen, are you okay with that as well?
Absolutely fine with that.
Mr. Carter?
That's fine.
Okay.
And one last thing, Your Honor, just on that Reuters report, I was a little stunned to hear that there was some August 2021 FBI report. That was just a Reuters article, not a report, just to let you know, quoting unnamed sources. And just as that shouldn't come in, nor should the Washington Post article from January 30th, 2021, saying that the FBI had found coordination amongst groups.
I agree that if it's just a Reuters report, that's hearsay.
I don't think we have a big objection to that. I mean, it certainly explains Mr. Van Fleen's state of mind, but we're not looking to insert that truth in that.
Okay, well, I think I heard that testimony, so we will reconvene at 1 p.m. With Congressman Buck, and I just ask that you be ready to go with him from a technological standpoint.
That's another reason why I thought it'd be good to break now, so we can wrestle with the technology before 1 o'clock.
I think the key is just not to have Mr. Blue's computer involved. I say that with no real knowledge.
I wouldn't disagree with you.
Okay, so we'll be back at 1 o'clock. We're off the record.
All right. So there you go. Nice long lunch break. Okay. So Debbie says, you seem to be blessed with more than the usual number of goofballs in chat today. I hope they're all subscribing, liking and stuff. Yeah, goofballs. If you could subscribe, like, and all that good stuff, drop a comment. That'd be awesome. That'd be really, really great. Also, I owe you this. I owe you one of those. And I owe you one of these as well, Jeremy. Quoting the nose, government should fear the people, not the people fearing the government. Totally agree with that. So I'll give you one of those horns as well. Want to make sure I didn't miss anything over here. I don't think I did. I was doing my best to keep up with this as this was happening. There's going to be there's a few Rummel rants that I wanted to get to. So first of all, I think it was Gary Palmer was his name. I'm going to give him one of these. Asking, are you a police officer in New York? Asking because of the hat. Thank you for streaming the video for us all. Do you have a podcast or anything like that we can watch? Yes, I stream every night. Every night to Rumble and YouTube. Every night except Friday nights. Every night. Saturday night, usually pretty late. Saturday night and Sunday. On the weekends, I tend to stream from, like, I don't know, after 11 p.m. Eastern, maybe even after midnight until like 2 in the morning. On weekdays, Monday through Thursday, I stream from 10 p.m. till midnight on most nights, on virtually every night. Next week, I happen to have a wedding, so I'm going to miss one night. But in general, my general schedule, if you want to find me, you can find me at my at goodlogic.locals.com, where I post all the appearances that I'm making, whether it's on my channel right here or on someone else's channel. And it's free to sign up and get those notifications. There is added content there that is for paying members and those who cannot afford to pay. I always happily offer them that they can basically sign up and I'll give them a code to sign up for free. I really want people to be subscribing on Locals. It is my safety blanket for the fact that YouTube definitely does not like me. They definitely suppress me as much as they can with the algorithm, literally unsubscribing people from me. And I'm talking like dozens a day that they'll just unsubscribe from me. These trials are the only opportunity I have for actual growth, which is why I urge people to like and subscribe, whether it's on Rumble or on Locals. And the hat that you asked about, that's my way of standing up against unfairness in our system and cronyism. Because when there were all the mandates going on, they had to wear a mask to go anywhere or be anywhere in New York. And I was restricted from going on a train without a mask and obligated to put one on. And then when I threw on the $15 souvenir hat, all of a sudden, no one cared. People let me do whatever I wanted. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of insane that if there's a medical emergency, that all of a sudden I'm no longer a threat as long as I'm wearing a $15 souvenir hat that people take as being legit. So this became sort of the branding of my channel, which makes it hard for me to sell, like, as far as this Montana thing. So I hope that explains everything. And yeah, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Representative Ken Buck, House Representative Ken Buck, this is, to me, shocking. Ken Buck is a shocking choice for him to come in and testify on behalf of Trump. The reason this is such a shocking choice, and I've already set the stream up, and I think his testimony is going to be fascinating to me. This is a guy who said he would not vote for Jim Jordan to be Speaker of the House because he refuses to admit that Biden won the election. Now, maybe that's why they chose him, to say that even he doesn't think that there was an insurrection. He's not a Trump fan. He doesn't like Trump. He's on record as not liking Trump, and he does not think that this was an insurrection. Maybe. I don't know. But it does seem like it's a gamble, because when he gets on the stand, you don't know what he's going to say when he gets there. That's supposed to be coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, noon Pacific time. So the stream is already set up in YouTube. I cannot set it up in Rumble until I close this stream, because I am going to be taking a break for lunch. And I really appreciate if you can like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow, and goodlogic.locals.com. That's a big thing. That's a big one. All right. I will see you all in an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm going to land my plane right here. And thank you all for participating. I will see you shortly. Take care and Godspeed.